I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning and a very happy new year to you. It's Saturday, the 1st of January 2022. Sounds good, doesn't it? This is your Great British Breakfast with Paul Hawkins and me, Ellie Costello.
Yeah, coming up this morning, seeing in the new year with a bang, a fireworks spectacular lights up London's skyline as the UK ushers in 2022. Arise, Sir Tony. Former Prime Minister Tony Blair gets a knighthood in the New Year's honours list. Let us know what you think about that. GBViews at gbnews.uk. It's also a big day in the Kenny household with Olympic cyclist Laura becoming a dame and husband Jason becoming Sir. And tributes are being paid to the golden girl of stage and screen, Betty White, who's died at the age of 99. As always, this show is all about you. How did you see in the new year? What are your New Year's resolutions? What are your hopes for 2022? Get in touch with us. GBViews at gbnews.uk. Well, let's start the day by taking a look at some of this morning's newspaper front pages. The first of 2022, starting with the Telegraph. Like many of the papers splashing on the New Year's honours list, they focus on Jenny Harries, the head of NHS Test and Trace, being made a dame despite the current testing chaos. The Mirror also leads with the Queen's New Year honours. Two boys who raised almost £800,000 during the pandemic have become the youngest ever to be honoured by Her Majesty. The Independent's headline claims most voters now say the UK is worse off after Brexit. 57% of those surveyed by Savanta for the publication believe they were lied to about what Brexit would be like during the 2016 referendum campaign. On the front of the Daily Mail, Javid says curbs must only be last resort. Writing in the publication, the Health Secretary vows to do everything in his power to avoid another lockdown and echoes Boris Johnson in saying the UK is in a far stronger position than it was at the start of last year. The Guardian says COVID advisors reveal tidal wave of threats and abuse. Dozens of experts working on the pandemic have described incidents ranging from coordinated online attacks to death threats and acts of intimidation, including photos of their homes being shared online and suspicious packages in the post. The Times reports on ministers wanting to relax immigration rules to make it easier for thousands of Indians to live and work in the UK as part of trade talks that are due to begin within weeks. Honours for our real heroes leads the Express as hundreds of scientists, including Chris Whitty and Jonathan Van Tam, are recognised for their part in fighting COVID. The Eye also leads with those honours for the heroes of the pandemic. They also report that celebrities did well too, as Daniel Craig is honoured. And that leaves the Star too. There you go, as they splash Gong, Her Majesty's Secret Service. Very good. Well, let's take a look at what's happening inside the papers this morning. We're delighted to say we have political consultant Emma Burnell and the article columnist Ali Mirage with us. Good morning to both of you. A very happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What have you got for us this morning?
Well, we were mostly talking about the honours. Obviously, I think it's great that we've recognised all the hard work of the scientists and the fundraisers who've really kind of made COVID such a community-spirited thing. Obviously, that clashes slightly with the really scary headline in The Guardian about the way that some of the people involved in the COVID fight back have been treated. But there are also slightly more controversial decisions in the honours. I strongly suspect that Labour Twitter is going to spend the day tearing itself to pieces over whether Tony Blair should have got a knighthood. But then that's just another day on Labour Twitter.
Yeah. What do you make of that, Ali? Sir Tony Blair, personally picked by the Queen.
Well, look, when Tony Blair came in 1997, he did win a landslide majority. He was there for 10 years. He did do a lot to transform this country, even whether you support him or not. And I was not a supporter of Tony Blair, but he did have a huge impact on the country. And I think it's right in a way that a Prime Minister of that stature should be recognised in the honour system. However, unfortunately for Tony Blair, his epitaph will always, for me, be Iraq. And that strange prospectus that we sort of went to war on, which was later then found to be completely and utterly, if not misleading. I mean, he was cleared from various different investigations into it, but still in the public's mind, we were just wondering what happened to the dossier in 45 minutes until we're under attack. So I think you've got to look at it in the round. I do think since leaving office, Tony Blair has sort of established himself as a kind of a US presidential approach to a former Prime Minister. He's tireless, indefatigable. He runs his own think tank. He's set up his own faith foundation. So he does have something to contribute to the public debate, to be fair to him. He's a bit of an egomaniac, but a lot of politicians are. So I take a sort of a balanced view of Tony Blair. He's an extremely talented individual that had a big impact on public life. I think it's probably reasonable that he should get an honour. I just think his epitaph will be Iraq. But the good thing is, and Emma said that, a number of people have been recognised. I think some of the nice things is that some youngsters, 11 and 12, have been recognised for raising funds for their school and also for a local hospice. Again, you've got Olympic greats being recognised, Jason and Laura Kenny. 007, I think we can all Daniel Craig, we can all sort of accept that one. That's reasonable. I think he's given good service to the country by making us all smile during the films. And I think the honour system, I always have a bit of a strange one about the honour system because it's a uniquely British quirk, really. I mean, the French have got the Légion d'honneur, I suppose, but it's quite unique. At least these people are not being ennobled and making our laws in the House of Lords. That's something. So I think it's nice to recognise people. I also think that the key figures who have been leading the charge on COVID, so Chris Whitty, Jonathan Van Tam, they've been recognised. Jenny Harris to a lesser extent. I mean, the Telegraph is quite damning on that. Dame Hood for head of chaos hit testing system. So there's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag, but I think overall it's something that is uniquely British. And also one other final thing is Camilla has been recognised by the Queen as well with the highest honour.
Well, you'd think she would by now.
Well, the thing is with Camilla, she's done her job, I think, with a great decency. She's very stoical. She's always with Prince Charles by his side. And at some stage, he will become king. The Queen is becoming more frail. Next year, 70 years. Long may she reign. But she also recognises that she has to give up more of the responsibilities. And I think she's recognising Camilla for the
quite uncontroversial, wouldn't you say, Emma?
I mean,
that's a good thing. That sounds like
as far as I'm concerned, bring them down. But I just, in terms of, if they're going to have this rather silly system from the Queen on down, then you either go all in and take it seriously, in which case you've got to recognise the wife of the future king, or you don't. And they undermine their own case if they sort of start running around worrying about whether Camilla's popular or not, because being popular has absolutely nothing to do with whether you get to be monarch or not.
Yeah. What do you make of... you were saying that Labour's going to tear itself apart for the rest of the day over Sir Tony. What's your feelings on the matter? Awarded to him for significant public service.
Yeah, and that's fair. He did give significant public service. He was Prime Minister for, a long time. He turned around investment in public services. The Labour government, and I say this as a Labour supporter, was a mixed bag at times. I didn't feel they always went far enough. I didn't feel that they embedded many of their changes well enough so that they could be too easily overturned during the austerity decade. But they did bring in things that have lasted, like the minimum wage. They turned education around, particularly in the major cities. And all in all, I think if you're going to have Prime Ministers who are so young now, I mean, this is part of the conversation that we haven't really had. Most Prime Ministers will have a post-Prime Ministerial life of, 40, 50 years now, whereas that just wasn't the case when our Prime Ministers, it was going to be the last job they ever did. So I think there are always going to be difficulties and controversies after leaving office younger. Ali talked about his philanthropic work, which is great, but he's also fairly well known as making quite a lot of money from not necessarily the most salubrious of sources. So I do think Tony Blair, mixed bag, but if you're going to have a rule that ex-Prime Ministers get recognised, have a rule that ex-Prime Ministers get recognised.
Now, of course, it was New Year's Eve last night, really toned down celebrations, I think we can say, in the capital cities, in London, Belfast, Cardiff, and in Edinburgh as well. Do you think it was the right thing to cancel those big celebrations? Ali, let's start with you.
I think you've got to recognise that we're still in the midst of this Omicron wave, and it's a very confusing picture in the papers. Every day I read the papers and I sort of be told 1 minute it's panic, the next minute it's all fine. It's quite difficult to understand exactly what's going on, and I think that's why, to be fair to the government on this, I think they've probably got this just about right, which is let's just wait and see before we impose any further curbs at the moment, because yes, the number of cases is going up pretty exponentially, but it's still controllable in hospitals and deaths, but in general terms, we still need to be mindful and careful. So I think it was probably sensible. There were parties going on. One of my favourite record labels, Defect, was doing a big party at Printworks. Apparently that went very well last night. I was watching some of the footage from there. I was doing my own live DJ set, but streaming from my home yesterday to my fans, which was all very COVID secure. But I thought that the fireworks display that we put on, well, it was spectacular, but it was a bit muted compared to normal. And I thought it was a little bit disjointed as well, but it sort of reflects the times we're in. And there were some great pictures coming from across the world with people enjoying themselves from Sydney, Auckland, and also people over here from Wales and Scotland coming across the border to have a bit of fun, given the time that they've been having and the fact that they've got lockdowns, which mean that they can't go clubbing in their own countries.
Well, I was actually going to ask about that because there are pictures in the Daily Mail this morning of revellers coming down from Scotland and coming into Newcastle's Central Station yesterday. They were coming for New Year's Eve celebrations, of course, because there are still restrictions in Scotland. Emma, how much do you think this was to do about public health, or was this more about party politics, having these different rules?
That's a really good question. I think they all say they follow the science, and then you get very different answers. So that, and I know that science, ironically, is not an exact science, and I know that someone got in a lot of trouble saying that on television, but actually the point of the kind of predictive science that COVID is looking at will give you a range, and then it will depend on the politicians as to which end of the range they focus on. I do believe that we still need to be cautious. I mean, in London, it's like something in 1 in 20 people have currently got Omicron. I know my parents, bless them, were supposed to have their best friends of 50 years over for dinner. One of them tested positive the day before. So they all had to do another Zoom quiz, yet another Zoom quiz. But I think it's just finding a way through now. And just making sure, I mean, these big fireworks displays that we watch from our windows or on the telly, rather than, I mean, to be honest, I've never seen the attraction of piling into Trafalgar Square on New Year's Eve. But for those people who want to do it, it was a very mild night, so I think it would have been really quite crowded.
But I mean, you make a really interesting point about these different leaders supposedly following the science, because I always was getting rather confused last week, because between Scotland and Wales, they both impose restrictions, but one of them's got a 1 metre distancing rule, another's got a 2 metre distancing rule. Some are allowing indoor or outdoor events of up to 200 people or 100 people. In Wales, it's only 30 people indoors, 50 people outdoors. It all seems rather arbitrary. And I think, to your point, Ellie, at times I do wonder if this is really a mechanism to try and assert independence for a political agenda. And I think, to be fair to Nicola Sturgeon, she's been front and centre of every COVID briefing I think I can remember over the last almost 2 years now, and has been absolutely relentless in her pursuit of being the face of the government response up in Scotland. But I do find it all a bit arbitrary. I'm not saying that the UK government's got everything right, but I think on this, you also alluded to the fact, I think that people are getting a bit tired now as well. There's a bit of fatigue setting in. So we need to be cautious, we need to be careful, but we also need to learn to find a way to live with this virus, because there could be more variants coming down the track this year, and we can't keep closing down the economy. We've got 400 billion of borrowing, we've got 2 trillion of public debt, and all the mental, physical health challenges we've got at the back of this, 6 million waiting list as well. So we've got to find a way of continuing to live our lives in a sensible manner.
Ali and Emma, it's fascinating to have your thoughts. You're with us all morning, so we will come back to you very shortly. Thank you very much for looking at the front pages with us there.
Yeah, lots of you getting in touch with us, by the way, on whether Sir Tony Blair, indeed Tony Blair, should have been knighted by the Queen. Tony says the Queen has done huge damage to her legacy by knighting Tony Blair. Should Blair have been knighted? William says it's a no from me. Lots of you getting in touch with us on that one. GBviews at gbnews.uk. Now, among those honoured this year is Northern Irish professional motorcycle racer Jonathan Ray. He competes in the Superbike World Championship and is a 6-time world champion. He's been awarded an OBE.
Well, our reporter, Dougie Beattie, is in Belfast this morning. And Dougie, Happy New Year to you. I understand that you've spoken to Jonathan about his OBE.
Yes, Happy New Year to you all. And I did yesterday. The New Year's honours list here has always been a very big thing, and of course it awards those in all parts of society. Colin Neal of Hospitality Ulster, he's got an MBE, as has Judith Owens for her services to tourism. Bethany Firth, the swimmer, she gets an OBE. But yes, Jonathan Ray, a 6-time world champion, the most successful world superbike rider there has ever been. He lost the world championship this year, but very narrowly he lost out on it. But 6 in a row he got, and I asked him what this actually would mean to him, an award like this.
Incredible, you know, no matter how many race wins or championships you earn, to be recognised outside your sport is always more rewarding. It's really nice. And you know, I've been very fortunate enough to go to Buckingham Palace before to receive my MBE, and you know, now to be on the honours list again to receive an OBE is incredible. You know, I'm so proud of the journey my family's been on, proud of motorcycling and Northern Ireland and the UK in general, that I've been able to fly the flag for motorcycling in the UK throughout the world, and it's a really, really nice honour to have.
Your last time you were there, it was Prince William that actually gave you, and he is a big motorcycle fan. Did he have anything to say to you?
You know, it's strange because I was one of the last to receive an award that day, and the awards are played on a big screen in the waiting area, and I was thinking how long he was taking talking to each and every individual of, you know, from the special services or charity work or sport. And when he came to me, I was so nervous to say, what's my conversation going to go like? But, you know, props to him. You know, he came away and said, you know, you're 3-time world champion, and I've been following your success. I like bikes. So as soon as he said he liked bikes, you know, my nerves went away. We started talking about the bikes he had, and you know, kids and racing and whatnot. And it went by pretty quickly. But it's an incredible event. My mum and dad came together, and we went all together with my wife, and we had a really, really nice time. So looking forward to whenever the date may be that I get to go back there and receive my OBE.
Well, you can see Jonathan Ray is very much a family man. He's well known for getting his mental strength in the paddock from having his wife and children around him at all times. And it would be remiss of me not to ask a man when I have him in front of a microphone about what his thoughts are for next year and what he hopes to achieve.
Toprak's a rival I haven't had in the past. You know, the rest couldn't string a season together. You know, I would get beat flat out some races, but over a season, the margins of victory were incredible in points. Where Toprak is very consistent, he's very fast, but also he has his flaws as well. And we just need to keep working hard on ourselves. Forget about him, because for me, I made too many mistakes this year. My team made some mistakes, and we have to be accountable for that. But I enjoyed the journey, I enjoyed the experience, the learnings, and hopefully we can come back even stronger in 22. And it's definitely not dampened my spirits. You know, I'm so motivated to keep fighting for another world title, and you know that starts right here, right now, and at the beginning of a new year.
Well, the beginning of a new year for Jonathan Rea. It all kicks off in Australia. We will be watching, and you can see from that interview there that he really is up for it. He is very physically strong, but he is also mentally strong.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Thank you, Doogie. That's our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie there. Congratulations to everyone that's been awarded an honour this morning, especially 11-year-old Tobias Weller awarded a British Empire Medal, only 11 years old, the youngest ever to get that medal, for services to fundraising. He has cerebral palsy and autism, but for services to fundraising, the youngest ever. So congratulations to him and all of those receiving honours today. Do let us know what you think about who has got those honours, by the way. GBviews at gbnews.uk. Here's what else is happening this morning. Betty White, the actress best known for roles in sitcoms, including The Mary Tyler Moore Show and The Golden Girls, has died aged 99. White died at her home on Friday morning, just 2 weeks before she would have turned 100. The legendary TV star enjoyed a career spanning more than 8 decades, receiving 8 Grammys, 1 Grammy and 3 Screen Actors Guild Awards.
New Brexit rules come into force today as full UK border checks on imported goods arriving from the EU take effect 6 months after they were originally scheduled. We'll have more on that shortly.
There's also some changes to insurance price rules today. The Financial Conduct Authority has banned insurers from quoting current customers a higher price for renewing their home or car insurance than new customers. The rules are intended to stop existing customers from being penalised by price-walking cost hikes. However, experts have warned it could see the end of low deals for new customers who switch providers.
5 Premier League and Championship football clubs will take part in a safe-standing trial from today. Manchester United, Manchester City, Tottenham, Chelsea and Cardiff will take part in the trial, ending a blanket ban on standing in the top 2 tiers of English football, which was in place for more than 25 years. The trial kicks off when Chelsea play Liverpool at Stamford Bridge tomorrow.
And a funeral service will be held for Archbishop Desmond Tutu at St George's Cathedral in Cape Town. Tutu, who was a Nobel laureate and hero of South Africa's fight against apartheid, died on Sunday at the age of 90. So, coming up, a new year means new Brexit regulations. We'll be telling you what you need to know if you run an export business about the new customs rules. All that's come after the weather.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panelists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join me, Mark White, here on GB News. For more than 2 decades, I've been at the sharp end of reporting crime and security at home and abroad. From the scourge of terrorism to the fight against violent crime and the deepening small boats crisis in the Channel, they're issues you rightly care about, and so do I. As GB News home and security editor, my focus will be on the stories that matter to you.
Welcome back to the Great British Breakfast. It's just gone 6:27. Happy New Year to you. And we've been asking you to get in touch, telling us how your New Year's Eve celebrations were. Did they change? Do let us know, gbviews@gbnews.uk. We have had an email from Mick who says, Happy New Year, Ellie and Paul. I live at one of the highest points in Burnley and it looks over the whole town. Last night was some of the best fireworks I've ever seen in Burnley, spanning from one side of the town to the other. It was all synchronised spectacularly and lasted for nearly 20 minutes. Amazing. He says it was truly amazing and it was all from my living room window. Well, Mick, that sounds wonderful. I hope you had a lovely celebration, and do let us know if you're watching at home how your celebrations were last night.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were staying in, watching it out of the window, as it were, last night. So yeah, do let us know how you celebrated New Year's Eve, and also what your hopes are for 2022. We're talking a lot about the New Year's honours this morning, of course. And Sir Tony Blair, Arise Sir Tony Blair, personally given a knighthood by the Queen today. A lot of talk about that this morning in the papers. He's been made a member of the Order of the Garter. It is England's oldest and most senior Order of Chivalry, and he's been awarded it for significant public service. Lots of you getting in touch with us on this one this morning. If this is the start of the new year, says Mark, Happy New Year to you, Mark. I'm planning to leave and live abroad. Tony Blair given a knighthood, sold off all the family silver, started a war in the Middle East, and all that other stuff. I give up. We are in deep trouble. I'm off. So Happy New Year to you, Mark, wherever you're going to end up. Jay says he definitely should not have been given a knighthood. In fact, he was a warmonger. most likely to be tried for crimes against humanity. They'll never be knighted. John Tassel says, what an insult and a kick in the teeth to the hundreds of families who lost loved ones in the Iraqi war. But many people are also pointing to the fact that Tony Blair won 3 elections. He had a significant period, long period as Prime Minister, probably akin to Margaret Thatcher, certainly won as many general elections. A lot of people pointing to the introduction of the minimum wage, for example, and citing that as reasons why he should be awarded this knighthood. But let us know what you think. Particularly keen from those to hear a lot of you getting in touch this morning. Definitely the balance of opinion, looking at our inbox, appears to be in favour of Tony Blair not being given a knighthood by the Queen. But if you disagree with that, do let us know. gbviews@gbnews.uk. Right, it is 6:29. Britain has taken another step into its new role after Brexit as transitional customs rules are scrapped. It means hauliers will now need to ensure they're ready for new import checks by customs officials on computers before bringing goods into the UK.
Well, our Yorkshire and Humber reporter Kevin Larkin is at Barton upon Humber for us now. Kevin, Happy New Year to you. Hope you had lovely celebrations last night. Tell us about the changes that are coming in today.
Well, yes, good morning, Ellie and Paul, and Happy New Year to you as well. Yes, this change means all the customs declarations will now need to be made online when bringing goods into the UK from today. Those transitional measures, which meant that wasn't necessary, they have now been ditched. They had been extended because of COVID. The British Retail Consortium warned just last month that some retailers were finding the change difficult and needed to find out how to actually go about taking control of their imports or getting a company to do it for them. However, here in North Lincolnshire, the Conservative leader of the local council, Rob Waltham, has said the information he's had suggests there won't be any major issues.
Always firmly believe when the residents put their cross in their box to leave the EU, as they confidently did in North Lincolnshire, that, you know, the Brexit was a really positive thing. Businesses have had chance to plan. Organisations such as the council have had chance to plan. So actually, although there's going to be some changes into some of those regulations, you know, we've all had time to be able to build a transition, and therefore, you know, we're actually going, you know, full speed ahead with what local residents wanted, and we'll seize the opportunities that will come from that.
Kevin, what's the government saying?
Well, Paul, HMRC are overseeing all of this, and they've said there's a strong trader readiness for these new rules. They say the government is delivering new systems, infrastructure and resources to help run these controls. They also point to their campaign to raise awareness for traders and hauliers, including adverts and webinars. And this is, of course, the first stage in this new phased introduction. The introduction of the new actual border checks will come in during the summer.
And Kevin, I mean, the question is, are the ports ready for this? What have you heard from the Humber Ports?
Well, Ellie, yes, this is a huge area for bringing goods into the UK. We've got the Humber Ports at Goole, Grimsby, Hull and Immingham, and they take in 40,000 shipping movements and 79 million tonnes of cargo a year. Now, Associated British Ports Humber, who run all of these, have said they've been working with the government and others to ensure they're ready for these new checks. They also say they'll be working with their customers and supply chain partners to ensure their operations here in the Humber continue to run well.
Kevin Larkin, our Yorkshire and Humber reporter. It's fantastic to have you on. Thank you very much.
Now, with the celebration of the new year comes national recognition of the extraordinary achievements and commitments made by British people to society.
Yeah, the New Year's honours list highlights both famous faces and everyday people from communities across the country. This year, more than 1,200 names are on the honours list, including teachers, NHS workers and sportsmen and women.
Well, to tell us more, our East Midlands reporter Will Hollis joins us live from Nottingham. Will, Happy New Year to you. Good to see you. Just give us a bit of background to why this happens at New Year's.
Good morning, Happy New Year, Paul and Ellie. This is something that we're very accustomed to at the New Year's. It goes as far back as 1890 that the Queen has been giving out special recognitions and awards for things like bravery, courage and service to the Queen and country. But in terms of the orders of chivalry that we've been hearing about, one of them, Tony Blair, is going to be part of an order of chivalry. That goes back to the Norman period, to the 1300s. And while us in the media, we get a little bit of heads up of the massive list list of around 1,300 names that are going to be getting a New Year's honours. It's often, as tradition, posted in the London Gazette, so that's how everybody else gets to find out traditionally about who's in the New Year's honours and who's getting celebrated in this way.
And Will, a lot of the names on the list are to do with services during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, of course. As I said, 1,300, just under 1,300 names, and the Cabinet Office estimates that it's around 1 in 5 of those are related to COVID pandemic service. So while there's obviously the key NHS staff, also people like teachers who have helped to keep the country going during this difficult period. Some of the names that most people will know are, of course, the Chief Medical Officer for England, Professor Chris Whitty. A couple of days earlier, the Cabinet Office is looking into how that leak happened, as well as various other different leaks that were able to make it into the press before the release last night at around 10 o'clock. Also, Jonathan Van Tam, he's from very close to where I am in Nottingham, in the region of Lincolnshire. He's from Boston. He's somebody that's going to be getting his knighthood as well. There's also a wide variety of other people from the medical profession, as well as Scotland and Wales Chief Medical Officers, as well as the health security leaders here in England as well.
What about in your region, Will, East Midlands?
Yeah, we're celebrating a lot of names on that list, let alone the 10 or 20 that are from Nottinghamshire alone, a massive list of people that have been recognised. Names that people will know first and foremost, Bernie Tolpin, the writer behind all of the big Elton John songs. He's been recognised with a CBE, that's a commander of the British Empire, for his services to music. A couple of the classics that he wrote the lyrics for while Elton John did the music and the singing, he was the man behind. Rocket Man, Tiny Dancer, and of course Candle in the Wind. We've also seen William Roach. He's going to be receiving a Officer of the Order of the British Empire for services to drama and charity. He's somebody that everybody in Britain that loves a soap opera will recognise. He played Ken Barlow and still continues to revisit the set of Coronation Street. He's actually holding the Guinness World Record for the longest serving soap actor in the world, and it's actually the longest serving soap in the world. And in regards to receiving this OBE today, he said he's delighted to receive the OBE as it's such a wonderful honour, and he can't tell you how proud he is. It's not all about the famous people. One of the major parts about the Queen's Honours is celebrating people that often go overlooked in society, that don't get recognised. From right here in Nottingham, unfortunately I don't think we have a picture for it. Michelle Taylor, she's going to be receiving an MBE, that's a member of the Order of the British Empire for services to theatre and people with disabilities. She's the Director of Change at Ramps on the Moon, which is working really hard to get recognition for people that are maybe deaf or have a disability, like they need to use a wheelchair for day-to-day activities, and getting them onto the stage, but also fighting for policy change as well as inclusivity around theatres and the laws around them, especially for things like accessibility, and making people recognised in the industry that we all love so much.
Well, it sounds like there's lots of talented people, very worthy recipients of those honours in the East Midlands. Thank you very much for that report. That's Will Hollis, our reporter there for us.
Yeah, speaking of talented people, coming up, Hollywood says thank you for being a friend. Only Golden Girls fans will get that. As Betty White, star of Golden Girls, dies at age 99. We'll be live in the US with showbiz reporter Kinsey Schofield.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farrar, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to the Great British Breakfast. It's just gone 6:40. Happy New Year to you, and thank you so much for your company. Now, tributes have been paid to veteran American actress Betty White, affectionately known as Hollywood's grandmother. She's died less than 3 weeks before her 100th birthday.
The Golden Girls star, whose career spanned 8 decades, died at her home on New Year's Eve. We're joined from Los Angeles this morning by showbiz reporter Kinsey Schofield. Kinsey, very happy New Year to you, but not so happy, you know, for fans of Golden Girls, for fans of Betty White. She was such a star, wasn't she?
She was such a star. That's right. The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Hot in Cleveland. There are so many. Her resume goes on and on and on. This woman has worked since 1939. Can you believe that? It's insane to think about. But so many great memories in regards to Betty White. I want to tell you really quickly, one of my favorite stories that I read, this was her go-to joke. Whenever a journalist asked her, what is one thing that you haven't done yet? What's that one thing that you haven't done? She always said Robert Redford. I mean, completely relatable, but how adorable that was her go-to answer. And Robert Redford today, a touching tribute to her. He said that he had a crush on her too, which I thought was so sweet.
Kinsey, it's such a shame, isn't it, that she's passed away with just a few weeks off her 100th birthday. She was speaking very openly about wanting to get to that milestone birthday, wasn't she?
She was, and she said that she was excited too. She couldn't believe she was, but she had said previously in an interview in 2011 that she did not fear death, and that's because her mother had said that nobody really knows what happens when you die, and there's obviously speculation and people studying, but no one knows the truth. It's a secret. And so the way that her mother would comfort them growing up, when somebody would pass, her mother would say to them, well, now they know the secret. So everybody's kind of sharing that interview again in that video to try to comfort each other. Now she knows the secret. But there is a celebration happening for her 100th birthday. It was going to happen on January the 17th. Ryan Reynolds was involved, Jennifer Love Hewitt, several actors that had worked with her, Robert Redford. They're going to continue and have that celebration because, how can you not? This woman's career was insane and she was just so loved, and they want to celebrate her, which is incredible.
Kinsey, she was definitely known for, or her biggest role was as Rose in the 1980s and 90s sitcom Golden Girls. Just explain for those who don't know just how big that sitcom was.
Well, you know what's so funny in regards to the Golden Girls? It's one of those shows that you turn on. I don't know if you have I Love Lucy, but it's almost in comparison to Lucille Ball's I Love Lucy. It's one of those shows that today I could turn on the television, I could turn on cable, and if I'm channel surfing, I'm going to find it on several different channels right now at this very moment. In the gift section during the holidays, if you're looking for quirky gifts, or the card section, if you're shopping for a birthday card, these faces of the Golden Girls, these characters, they continue to dominate. How many years later, how long has the show been off air? We are still so enamored by this girl power, their personalities. They were a little naughty, but you look at them and you just see your grandma, or you see somebody in your life that they're so relatable. So it was an iconic show, and it will continue to be an iconic show because the writing was so stellar.
Yeah, and it actually broke a lot of ground, didn't it, as a sitcom, because of the fact it was an all-female cast, or essentially the core characters were all female, and they were elderly.
It was an all-female cast. They were not necessarily in their prime. I don't think at the time that anybody really saw it being the knockout show that it was, but it was one of those shows, again, like I Love Lucy, that the content was so innocent and sweet, and you could watch it with your entire family, and generations were now watching it. Kids that watched it with their parents were now watching it with their kids. It's just one of those shows that's clean and fun and just everlasting.
Kinsey, I think lots of people all around the world will be waking up today to this very sad news about the passing of Betty White at the age of 99. And as you said so correctly, that so many people look at her and think of their own grandmothers. We all feel very affectionately about Betty White. It's very, very sad news. But whilst we have you with us, we also wanted to kind of look back on the year that has been and the year that's going to be, 2022. And I know you've got a story that you want to talk to us about. This is pretty remarkable. Nicolas Cage doesn't want to be called an actor anymore. He wants to be called a thespian instead. Tell us a bit more about this.
I mean, this is my favorite. I'm not actually technically into the new year yet, but this is my favorite 2022 story already. Nicolas Cage says that when you hear the word actor, he said this on a podcast, when you hear the word actor, you think that's a good liar. So he would prefer to be called a thespian over an actor. That's what he wants us all to refer to him as from now on. And, it's actually kind of sweet. He said that he wants people to think of him as somebody that goes into his heart and into his head and really becomes these characters. So after I heard the entire quote, I was kind of on his side. But if you've seen some of his recent movies, it's hard to take him seriously. Hearing a quote like that, some of the stuff I've seen lately, that you'd find in the dollar bin is not necessarily thespian quality, if you know what I mean.
Is it fair to say, when we talk about Nicolas Cage, he's not exactly an actor with a lot of range? I'm thinking about all the roles, he kind of plays himself, really.
Oh, 100%. It's so fun. It's so funny. Like, if you are a fan of Nicolas Cage, you know exactly what you're going to get when you tune in, and you're not expecting very much, but you like him because he is this character. So you're absolutely right. That description is perfection. But you know what? He's a good guy. He loves the city of New Orleans, and is just very quirky. Like, the city of New Orleans kind of defines who he is. He's creative. He is just very cultural. And, I am totally team Nick Cage. But this was a silly quote.
I think we can probably all agree with that one, Kinsey. I wanted to ask you as well about this story about Ariana Grande coming off Twitter. Is this something that we might see happen more in 2022?
You know what? I absolutely believe so. Yes, Ariana Grande deleted her Twitter account. Over the last 10 years, I have covered Alec Baldwin deleting social media accounts and coming back. I think it's going to be something we see more often in 2022 for mental health reasons. Twitter, some of these other social networks in 2021 were exposed as companies that were not concerned about our mental health, our well-being. The hate speech that evolved themselves on these sites has been overwhelming over the last few years. And I think more celebrities, especially personality-driven celebrities like reality stars or, host journalists and entertainers are going to step back, or they're going to hire social media managers, but they're likely to step back because social media, it's so important that you are yourself and your personality shines through it. I think they're going to have to step back for their mental health because there aren't these guidelines, and it's just kind of getting insane out there. And so Ariana Grande deleted her Twitter account. I believe it's temporary, but I think we're going to see more artists, and I hate to use this example, but like Harry and Meghan with the Archwell website, they don't have social media, but they direct everyone to their website. Anybody can have a podcast now. Anybody can have a website. I think that that's where entertainers are going to put more of their energy because they can control the content, they can control the feedback, and it's not so toxic the way that social media has become. So look out for that. Don't stay glued to your smartphone in hopes of a tweet from Kanye. I don't think that that's the future.
I think you're probably on something there, Kinsey. Kinsey, you are fabulous. Thank you so much for spending the last few hours of your 2021 with us. That's Kinsey Schofield, our showbiz reporter in Los Angeles. Hasn't even rung in midnight yet, and she's up talking to us, so very good.
Yeah, appreciate her time. Appreciate your time as well this morning. Very happy New Year to you. If you're just waking up, this is the Great British Breakfast. It is Saturday morning, 6:49. Let's go back to the front pages with our brilliant panel this morning, political consultant Emma Burnell and the article columnist Ali Miraj. Emma and Ali, lots of talk this morning about the New Year's that's making a lot of the front pages. The New Year's honours, specifically Arise Sir Tony Blair. I have to say, looking at the GB News inbox, there's not a lot of agreement with the Queen on giving him this knighthood, but you guys think he should get it?
I find the whole honours, New Year's honours, Queen's honours list all a bit baffling anyway. The idea that we have an order of an empire that doesn't really exist anymore, all very bizarre. If you're going to have it, then being a former Prime Minister is probably a decent qualification. That will almost certainly mean that a majority of the country, because of the way that first past the post works, will not have voted for your party. There's always going to be controversy about that, but the same will be true when it comes to David Cameron's turn, Gordon Brown's turn, Theresa May's turn. But they all will probably get a turn. And just as everybody is outraged about Tony Blair, and there are good reasons for that, the Iraq War in particular was extremely ill-advised, is probably the politest way I can put it at this time in the morning. The same will be true of, say, people who were desperately unhappy about some of the decisions made under David Cameron's watch, like, for example, the bedroom tax or our lack of intervention in Libya.
Or leaving the EU.
Or indeed leaving the EU. I'm no big fan of David Cameron.
But we should say that there's not going to be, Ali, is there, Sir David Cameron? Is there? I mean, this is a very rare honour given to a former Prime Minister personally by the Queen.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen to David Cameron. I think, unfortunately for him, there are two issues for David Cameron. One is that he oversaw that referendum, which a lot of people who voted Remain will never forgive him for, and a lot of people who voted to leave don't really like him either. The other thing is he's also taken a personal reputational hit on the back of this whole Greensill lobbying debacle with text messages flying around. So I think he's probably safely holed up in his shepherd's hut in the Cotswolds at the moment. But coming back to Tony Blair, look, I'm not a Labour supporter, but Tony Blair did have a huge impact on the country. He won a landslide victory in 1997, the first Labour Prime Minister for decades. And the Labour Party itself, and Emma, you were talking about the fact there's going to be a lot of discussion on Labour Twitter today. There already is. I've already seen some of the comments flying back and forth. The Labour Party's got to get real with itself, that this was a man who did win them 3 successive election victories, unheard of for the Labour Party. They need to come to terms with the fact that he was an election winner and actually take some of the benefits and learn some lessons of why he won that. Now, look, today is different from 97. We're facing a different set of issues now. We've got to look to the future. The Labour Party's also got to actually be comfortable about what the Tories have done right for the last 10 years. And that's something that Blair did when he came in 97. He was very clear about what Thatcher had done right, what the Tories had got right, and what he was going to do to change the country. I completely agree on Iraq. I think that will always be, unfortunately, his epitaph for me. Sending troops in, the loss of thousands of people's lives on a prospectus that turned out to be completely and utterly wrong. And I think he'll live with that. But he, even having left office, and I do think he's a bit of an egomaniac, he does play a big role, even now, in the public discourse. Now, people may not like him, but at least he does put his oar in. He does fund his own think tank, comes up with ideas on vaccinations, on other things. So I still think he's a very talented man, Tony Blair. He does have things to say. He's still a big figure on the world stage. I think it's probably right that he was knighted, but I think people will always have in their minds the debacle on Iraq.
Do you know what, Ali? I was looking up the longest-serving prime ministers by the length in office served. Tony Blair, these are all the prime ministers ever. Tony Blair is 9th on the list, 10 years and 56 days. That's more than Winston Churchill, who clocks in at 8 years, 239 days. Margaret Thatcher, 7th on the list, 11 years, 208 days. You have to say, Emma, that he was a winner.
Yeah, no, I don't dispute that. I think the problem with Labour discourse, and this is not restricted to Tony Blair in any way, is that it tends to be very backward-looking. Whether that's from the right of the Labour Party, who just want to go back and replicate 1997, where I'm not sure if this is apocryphal or true, but I've heard that Tony Blair had never sent an email. Imagine living in a world where you've never sent an email and thinking that's relevant to 2022. Or it's Clement Attlee, or it's Michael Foot, or it's blah, blah, blah. Actually, what Labour needs to focus on in 2022 is a forward offer. They're in a better place than they've been for a very long time. They're ahead in the polls for the first time in a long time. The Tories show no sign of stopping their own implosion. And so let's stop talking about someone who left office 15 years ago and start talking about what Labour might do in the future.
Well, just on that, Emma, there's an interesting piece today in the Times about new year, new problems for Johnson. And just to your point about what the Labour Party's offer should be, I mean, this is talking about cost of living crisis, ongoing issues over coronavirus, Brexit. Yeah. Then there are these ongoing discussions about Christmas parties and this investigation.
I'll tell you what, Ali, a lot of that is gold, and we want to talk about that in the next hour, if that's OK. Ali and Emma, thank you. We will have them back in the next hour to talk through some of those issues.
Coming up, we bring you reaction to the New Year honours list. That's after the weather.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
take your blessings with your heartaches too. It's so easy and so wonderful to know it's you. So come on, let's make this moon shine all day. Let's make this world do everything you say. It's so easy and so wonderful.
Create your perfect diamond engagement ring. Choose your design, choose your diamond, and experience Love Lumber's bespoke same-day diamond engagement rings at Lumber's Jewelers.
When it comes to COVID testing for travel, Project Screen is a highly rated provider. We have the travel tests for you, whether it's a PCR test near you or a day 2 arrivals test. Our home test kits include next day delivery, or visit one of our local testing pods. Book today at projectscreen.co.uk. Tests are reliable, results are fast, and there is customer support along the way. Project Screen by Pronetics, getting Britain back to travel.
Good morning, you're watching The Great British Breakfast. It's just gone 7 a.m. on January the 1st, 2022. Happy New Year. Here's what's coming up this morning.
What's next for Boris Johnson and the Conservative Party after a scandal-ridden end to 2021? The director of the Orthodox Conservatives think tank, Joseph Robertson, will be joining us shortly to talk about that.
Britain has taken another step into its new role after Brexit, as new customs rules for goods arriving in Britain from the European Union have come into effect.
How does the hospitality industry bounce back after a difficult end to 2021? Can they really survive any more COVID restrictions? The CEO of the nighttime industries, Michael Kill, will give us his views at 7:30.
And as always, we do want to hear from you. How did you see in the new year? What are your New Year's resolutions? And what are your hopes for 2022? Do let us know. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Now, with the celebration of the new year comes national recognition of the extraordinary achievements and commitments made by British people to society.
Yeah, the New Year's Honours List highlights both famous faces and everyday people from communities across the country. This year, more than 1,200 names are on the Honours List, including teachers, NHS workers and sportsmen and women.
Well, to tell us more is our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie, who hopefully will be joining us, and East Midlands reporter, Will Hollis, who is with us, who joins us live from Nottingham. In fact, we're just finding out we've got a few technical issues, so we'll try and get Will and Doogie up for us in a moment to give us a bit of background as to why the New Year's Honours List happens at this time of years.
Yeah, but we have been asking you this morning what you think of the news that Sir Tony Blair, this is being appointed a member of the Order of the Garter. This is the oldest and most senior Order of Chivalry. It's a personal choice by the Queen herself. It's in recognition of significant public service. So lots of people waking up to that news this morning. Let's say it's keeping you very busy in the inbox this morning. We've had this email from Jackie who says, Happy New Year. I just woke to the news that Blair has been knighted and my positivity bubble has popped. What a kick in the teeth. Well, thank you for that email, Jackie. And please do get in touch with your thoughts on that. It's gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Yep, we can go to Will Hollis now, who's live for us in Nottingham. Will, very good morning to you and Happy New Year. Just give us some background as to why the New Year's Honours happens at this time of year.
Morning, Paul and Ellie. Happy New Year from me here in Nottingham. The New Year's Honours List is something that happens every single year. It gets released to us journalists a little bit ahead so we can have a look through who's in this list and have a bit of an idea of who's been awarded in this way for their courage and their bravery, as well as their service to Queen and country by the Queen. It's actually a bit of a British pastime. The New Year's Honours has been going on since 1890, but as far back as the 1300s, to the days of William the Conqueror and the Norman period, we've been celebrating knights in the order of chivalry. One of them that we've been describing as you've been talking about today is Tony Blair is going to be added to that highest honour of the order of chivalry. There's a wide variety of different knighthoods available and different kind of rankings based on what the people have done. So it's everything. Every year we get to celebrate this, and we get to see the famous faces as well as the unsung heroes of our everyday society that make Britain what it is.
And Will, a lot of the names on the list are to do with people who've really stepped up during the pandemic. I mean, on the front page of the Daily Telegraph this morning, we've got Dr. Jenny Harries, who's received a damehood for her work on test and trace. But there's lots of people who have also stepped up during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, most definitely. This really is a pandemic honours, as we did see last year as well, large amounts of people who'd done work that was exceptionally special in terms of Britain's role in combating the spread of the COVID virus. This year it's around 1,300, just shy of 1,300 named, which is around the average for a New Year's honours list. And 1 in 5 of them are related to COVID service, so whether that's NHS staff that have kept the hospitals running, people that have been working in vaccination centres, doctors and university professors that have been so reliable in terms of finding things like the vaccine and all sorts of different things that have kept us going medically. A couple of people that most people will know, because we've seen them on our screens for large parts of the pandemic every single day at around 5 p.m. for those press briefings, was the Chief Medical Officer Chris Whitty. So he's going to be getting a knighthood. That's something that's really quite expected. I think it was also something that was leaked to the press a couple of days earlier. As I said earlier, we do get the background for who's going to be in the New Year's honours slightly before the public get it. But still, the Cabinet Office doesn't want leaks going out before we even get it. So I think they're going to be investigating that over the coming days to find out why that initial leak for Chris Whitty's knighthood was in there. We also saw Jonathan Van Tam. He's a local boy to my region, born in Boston, Lincolnshire, but he also went to university, studied here at the University of Nottingham, as well as on that New Year's honours list. We've also seen knighthoods and damehoods for the Chief Medical Officers in Scotland and Wales, as well as various different people from the health security agencies here in Britain.
Where you are in the East Midlands, Will?
Yeah, in the East Midlands, there's a whole raft of names I was going through, and there was Nottingham, Lincolnshire, Derbyshire. Quite a few that I'm talking about from Lincolnshire in particular today. People that you will definitely recognise. This man, Bernie Tolpin, he's the man behind all of the lyrics for Elton John's biggest songs. He met Elton John when he was just 17. He's now 71. Songs like Benny and the Jets, Candle in the Wind, just to name a couple. So it's really exciting to see him on that list. He's from Sleaford in Lincolnshire. A lot of people will know and love his music, and will have loved the film as well that came out quite recently. Also on that list, this man, William Roach, he's going to be receiving an OBE. That's an Officer of the Order of British Empire for services to drama and to charity. He plays Ken Barlow. You'll recognise him for playing Ken Barlow. You might not have known his name as the actor, but everybody knows him as Ken Barlow. That programme has been going on since 1960, and William Roach actually holds the record in the Guinness World Records for the longest serving soap actor. He does still appear in Coronation Street, but not quite as much. The man is 89 years old, and he's from Derbyshire, in a place called Ilkeston, which is about half an hour away from where I am. It isn't all about those famous faces. People do often get distracted by some of those big names, the people like Tony Blair, like some of these famous faces, the actors, the stars, that kind of thing. But it's really, ultimately, the New Year's honours list is about the unsung heroes, the people that don't necessarily get recognition in everyday society. One of the people from the list that I've picked out that I think is extra special is a lady called Michelle Taylor. I don't think we have a photo of her, unfortunately, but she's going to receive receive an MBE. She's from here in Nottingham. That's a member of the Order of the British Empire for services to theatre and to people with disabilities. She's the Director of Change at Ramps on the Moon. It's an organisation here that's working to get more visibility and inclusivity for people that are deaf or have a disability, to get them onto the stage. She spent 25 years working in the areas of policy to make sure that people that are often unheard and unseen in theatre get their chance up on stage and are really respected for the art and the craft that they can produce, and really creating a much more equal society. So there's a raft of names, 1,300 different names, and a lot of them are people that are just like you and me, just regular everyday people in society that are contributing in an extraordinary way to make Britain a great place.
Well, I absolutely agree with you, and it's so wonderful to hear about those unseen and often unheard people who are just doing wonderful things and have now been recognised in the New Year's Honours list. So thank you, Will Hollis, our East Midlands reporter, for that roundup there.
It's coming up to 10 minutes past 7. You're watching The Great British Breakfast. Good to have you with us this morning. Another of those honoured this year is Northern Irish professional motorcycle racer Jonathan Ray. He competes in the Superbike World Championship. He's a 6-time world champion, and he's been awarded an OBE.
Our reporter, Dougie Beattie, is in Belfast this morning. Dougie, Happy New Year. I understand that you have spoken to Jonathan about his OBE.
I have indeed, and Happy New Year to you all. Yes, these New Year's Honours list, of course, are quite an event, really. As your former contributor said there, I mean, you have people like Judith Owens, nobody's ever heard of her, but she's getting an MBE for tourism. We've Colin Neal, who's a regular contributor on GBNews in Hospitality Ulster. And then you have the sports stars. And why I'm particularly interested in the sports stars is the likes of Jonathan Ray was a runner-up in Sportsman of the Year. He's been a 6-time world champion. What really does this sort of thing mean to him? What does this recognition mean to him at that level? And I spoke to him late last night to find out just what his thoughts were.
It's incredible, to no matter how many race wins or championships you earn, to be recognised outside your sport is always more rewarding. It's really nice, and I've been very fortunate enough to go to Buckingham Palace before to receive my MBE, and now to be on the honours list again to receive an OBE is incredible. I'm so proud of the journey my family's been on, proud of motorcycling and Northern Ireland and the UK in general, that I've been able to fly the flag for motorcycling in the UK throughout the world, and it's a really, really nice honour to have.
Your last time you were there, it was Prince William that actually gave you, and he is a big motorcycle fan. Did he have anything to say to you?
It's strange because I was one of the last to receive an award that day, and the awards are played on a big screen in the waiting area, and I was thinking how long he was taking talking to each and every individual of from the special services or charity work or sport. And when he came to me, I was so nervous to say, what's my conversation going to go like? But props to him. He came away and said, you're 3 times world champion, and I've been following your success. I like bikes. So as soon as he said he liked bikes, my nerves went away. We started talking about the bikes he had, and kids and racing and whatnot, and it went by pretty quickly. But it's an incredible event. My mum and dad came together, and we went all together with my wife, and we had a really, really nice time. So looking forward to whenever the date may be that I get to go back there and receive my OBE.
Well, you can see what it did mean to him. Nerves out of a man that is the most successful world superbike rider that has ever been on this planet. That is quite strange. He's well known for taking his strength from his family. He's a big family man. He would always have his 2 boys and his wife with him in the paddock. And it would be remiss of me not to have asked him about what stands ahead of him this year when he takes on Top Rack to try and claim back his world championship.
But Top Rack's a rival I haven't had in the past. The rest couldn't string a season together. I would get beat flat out some races, but over a season the margins of victory were incredible in points. Where Top Rack is very consistent, he's very fast, but also he has his flaws as well, and we just need to keep working hard on ourselves. Forget about him, because for me, I made too many mistakes this year. My team made some mistakes, and we have to be accountable for that. But I enjoyed the journey, I enjoyed the experience, the learnings, and hopefully we can come back even stronger in 22. And it's definitely not dampened my spirits. You know, I'm so motivated to keep fighting for another world title, and you know that starts right here, right now, and at the beginning of a new year.
Well, the beginning of a new year, and of course that all kicks off in Australia in a couple of months' time. And Johnny has fought very, very hard with the Kawasaki team to stay on top. Razkat, Toprak Razkat, has, of course, in the Yamaha chased him down hard and took the World Championship off him this year, but only by a few points. We await to see what this season has in store. Of course, there's lots more riders involved in that, and there's some coming from the British Superbikes to join the World Championship. And it's a big sport that I am very much into, and it was a pleasure and an honour to speak to him.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Doogie. That is our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie.
OK, here's what else is going on today. Betty White, the actress best known for roles in sitcoms The Mary Tyler Moore Show and The Golden Girls, has died aged 99. White died at her home on Friday morning, just 2 weeks before she would have turned 100. The legendary TV star enjoyed a long career of more than 8 decades, receiving 8 Emmys, 1 Grammy and 3 Screen Actors Guild Awards.
New Brexit rules come into force today as full UK border checks on imported goods arriving from the EU take effect 6 months after they were originally scheduled. I will have more on that shortly.
There's also some changes to insurance price rules today. The Financial Conduct Authority has banned insurers from quoting current customers a higher price for renewing their home or car insurance than new customers. The rules are intended to stop existing customers from being penalised by price-walking cost hikes. However, experts have warned it could see the end of low deals for new customers who switch providers.
5 Premier League and Championship football clubs will take part in a safe standing trial from today. Manchester United, Man City, Spurs, Chelsea and Cardiff are participating, ending a blanket ban on standing in the top 2 tiers of English football, which has been in place for more than 25 years. The trial kicks off when Chelsea play Liverpool at Stamford Bridge tomorrow.
And a funeral service will be held today for Archbishop Desmond Tutu at St George's Cathedral in Cape Town. Tutu, who is a Nobel laureate and hero of South Africa's fight against apartheid, died on Sunday at the age of 90.
Yeah, very happy new year to you. 7:15. It is the first day of 2022. We're asking this morning how you spent it last night. Maybe you just stayed in and watched the fireworks out of the window. What are people saying?
Yeah, it does sound like a lot of people have been doing that. Lynn has been in touch. She says, "Hi guys, Happy New Year to you and yours." Thank you very much, Lynn. Happy New Year to you. She says, "Our celebration went on as planned. We had tickets." Oh, look, Lynn went out. And we were determined to use them. We are grown-ups and we are fully vaccinated and boosted. We know the risks. We also know that if we catch COVID, it's down to us. Boris has opened the floodgates now by allowing us to have Christmas and New Year. It may as well run its course. That's from Sherilyn in Blackpool. Thanks very much for that email.
Yeah, and lots of you getting in touch with us this morning about the New Year's honours list. Most controversially of all, Arise Sir Tony Blair's been given a knighthood personally by the Queen, the most senior knighthood that she can give for significant public service. And looking at the GB News inbox, a lot of you are not happy with that. Tony Blair should be in jail, says Tony. Gannon, that is. Sheila says, who in their right mind put Tony Blair down for a knighthood? The Queen, in answer to that, Sheila. Robert says, a country can't go to war without gaining royal assent. Tony Blair said nobody to war. The Queen did, proven in court as an illegal invasion, apparently.
Yeah, one from Pam here as well. Sir Tony Blair, surely this has been some mistake. So lots of you getting in touch on that one. Do keep them coming in. It's just at the bottom of the screen there for you, gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Yeah, and also lots of you getting in touch with us on Twitter as well, @GBNews. Peter says it's 15 years since he left number 10. It's taken a long time for him to be recognised with this honour. I don't think it will be a popular appointment with the British public. A lot of people saying no, and but a fair few of you on Twitter as well saying that he should be given a knighthood for essentially being one of this country's longest-serving prime ministers. So do let us know what you think about that. Also, other people notably getting on in the New Year's honours list today. CBE for Martin Lewis, the money-saving expert guy, and also Doc Cotton, as played by June Brown from EastEnders, gets an OBE. GBviews at gbnews.uk.
Now, coming up, a new year means new Brexit regulations. We'll be telling you what you need to know about the new customs rules after the weather.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
I tried to quit several times, always making excuses, until smoking was starting to affect my health. I decided to quit with nicotine.
Nicotine Clear Patch provides 24 hours of controlled nicotine release.
And if I have a craving, I grab a mini, which works fast.
Use Nicotine Clear Patch and Minis, an unbeatable way of quitting smoking. Now working with the British Lung Foundation for healthier lungs.
Christmas was coming, and a present from the king burst open and said, "Come play, it's time to win." Head over to the palaces, play in the bingo fairy tale. There are fabulous prizes to be won every day without fail. So join us this Christmas for festive fun and games, and you might just win big. The prizes are there to claim, but keep festive fun friendly. And please set your limits. Thepalaces.com, the home of festive bing. Ho, ho, ho.
SIM-only plans? There are always so many tempting options. So you jump headfirst into a long contract, which keeps you locked in for 12 months.
Help! Let me out!
At Labara, we offer great value plans and total flexibility. You can get 10 gigs of data, unlimited UK minutes and texts, and 100 international minutes for just £10 a month. And you can change or cancel at any time. Labara SIM-only deals. Change or cancel at any time. Buy now at labara.co.uk and get 50% off for the first 3 months.
When was the last time that you've stopped to think if the makeup shades you're wearing truly suit the woman you are today? Is it time to rethink your routine? Choosing the perfect makeup is not just about your skin tone, but it's a combination of your skin, hair, and eye colour. That's what makes you uniquely you. That's why I created our Match to Me technology at Trini London. It's foolproof. 15 seconds later, Match to Me has found the colours that suit you the best. Find your match at trinilondon.com.
Someone told me life can get better with age. Really? My back creaks, my knees ache. But then the penny started to drop. By releasing some tax-free money from your home with Age Partnership, you can make home improvements or even reopen the bank of mum and dad. Age Partnership will provide expert equity release advice to explain all your options. You'll pay off any existing mortgage and won't have to repay the money until you pass away or move into long-term care. To see how much you can release, use the Equity Release Calculator at agepartnership.co.uk or call 0880 555 888 for your free guide.
We've all gotten a bit familiar with our homes this year,
So it's time to get out of our four walls and love our neighbours. Through Love Christmas, people are reaching out across the nation to support those who are most isolated, sick, bereaved or otherwise struggling. By sharing bags of kindness, we can make sure no one feels alone this Christmas. Help us reach even more people by heading to lovechristmas.org. Love Christmas. Love your neighbour. We're in this together.
Welcome back to the Great British Breakfast. It's just gone 7:23 and Happy New Year to you.
Britain has taken another step into its new role after Brexit as transitional customs rules are scrapped. It means hauliers will now need to ensure they're ready for new import checks by customs officials on computers before bringing goods into the UK.
Well, our Yorkshire and Humber reporter Kevin Larkin is at Barton upon Humber for us now. Kevin, Happy New Year to you. Thank you for being up and ready to talk to us. What are the changes that are coming in today?
Well, yes, good morning, Ellie and Paul, and Happy New Year to you too as well. So this change means that all customs declarations of goods coming into the UK will now need to be put online from today. The transitional measures that meant this wasn't necessary before have now been scrapped. The British Retail Consortium has been concerned about this. It's been warning that some retailers, even as late as last month, hadn't taken on this responsibility themselves to bring these import controls in, and that they hadn't got an agency to do it for them either, which potentially has left many in quite a vulnerable position. However, the Conservative leader of North Lincolnshire Council, Rob Waltham, he said the information that he's had suggests there won't be any major issues.
Always firmly believe when the residents put their cross in their box to leave the EU, as they confidently did in North Lincolnshire, that, you know, the Brexit was a really positive thing. Businesses have had chance to plan. Organisations such as the council have had chance to plan. So actually, although there's going to be some changes into some of those regulations, you know, we've all had time to be able to build a transition, and therefore, you know, we're actually going, you know, full speed ahead with what local residents wanted, and we'll seize the opportunities that will come from that.
So, Kevin, are the ports ready for these checks? What have you heard from Humber Ports?
Well, Paul, yes, we've got a number of ports around the Humber here, one of the biggest gateways of goods in and out of the UK. The Humber ports are at Goole, Grimsby, Hull and Immingham, and they're taking 40,000 shipping movements and 79 million tonnes of cargo a year. Well, Associated British Ports Humber have told me they've been working with the government and others to ensure they're ready for these new checks. They also say they'll be working with their customers and supply chains to make sure that the operations here on the Humber continue to run well.
And let's hope they do. What has the government had to say?
Well, HMRC is overseeing this on behalf of the government, and they say there's a strong trader readiness for these new rules. They say the government's delivering new systems, infrastructure and resources to help run these controls. They also point to their campaign to raise awareness for traders and hauliers, including adverts and webinars. And they say this is, of course, the first phase of the introduction of these new border controls. The next step is to bringing actual physical checks. That's coming in the summer.
All right, many thanks, Kevin. That is our Yorkshire and Humber reporter, Kevin Larkin, there for us. It is 7:26.
Now, hospitality businesses were hit by a wave of Christmas cancellations following mixed messages from the government about Omicron and whether parties should still go ahead. And the spectre of further COVID restrictions is still looming large over the industry after Boris refused to rule them out yesterday. I'm delighted to say the CEO of Nighttime Industries Association, Michael Kill, joins us now. Michael, good morning to you and a Happy New Year.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
How was those few weeks before Christmas? Let's start there. It was a remarkable time, really, where people were self-imposing a lockdown on themselves in lots of places, cancelling their reservations or simply not turning up. That must have been a bullet to the head for so many businesses up and down the country.
Well, it's been an extremely tough year, and it's culminated in the festive period, which has been devastating in terms of trade. A huge amount of revenue that's lost. And as you can appreciate, with cancellations and people not turning up for gigs and no shows at restaurants, it's been extremely tough for our industry in particular. So, yeah, I mean, it's a real uncertain time for us. And as you've alluded to, the challenge that we have is we still have that uncertainty looming above our heads, whether there are going to be further restrictions, which, as you can appreciate, after the last couple of months, it is going to be absolutely devastating for an industry that's really still extremely fragile.
Yeah, we're hearing this morning, Michael, that hospitality bosses are telling customers not to desert their local pub during dry January. What would you say to that?
I think it's really important that we support the whole of hospitality and the entire nighttime economy. I think we're vitally important for not only our physical, social and mental well-being. For many people out there, some of them are extremely important hubs of communities. And I think that people will understand that, and they're starting to realise it. We saw some really strong support in patches across the country in terms of New Year's Eve. As you can appreciate, with a short lead time, it's been a huge challenge for people to bring this together, and some challenges around staffing. But we saw some really, really strong support from the public out there for people that are starting to understand the impact on our trade and the amount of things like closures and businesses that have been lost, and those people who have lost their livelihoods through it. So it's an extremely sort of reflective, sad time, but we need to move strongly into 2022 and push, as many of those leaders have suggested, support your local, support your hospitality businesses, your gig venues, all of those really, because there's a huge swathe of people behind it that people don't realise that put so much work in terms of supply chain, that are vitally important to us being able to do what we do.
Michael, it's definitely been a really challenging time. In the Daily Mail this morning, it's full of pictures of Scots packing onto trains into England to enjoy their New Year's Eve in northern cities such as Newcastle. How much has the different messaging and indeed the different ruling in the devolved administrations kind of added to this frustration?
Well, I feel for our colleagues in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. They have been absolutely devastated. We work very closely with our Scottish and Welsh commissions and to have tried to resolve this position. But as you can appreciate, there are some stringent rules both in Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland, and many people have, unsurprisingly decided to make that trip down across the border or across the border from Wales into the north of England or the West Country. So for us, I feel for them so much, because they have worked so hard. They've upheld the public health strategy, and they still feel that they're being marginalised at the moment or sacrificed for what seems to be no very clear evidence that they are sort of beds of transmission for this virus. So hugely challenging time for them in particular. I mean, England has been a huge challenge, but the devolved governments have got another level of challenges ahead of them, and it's going to be a long road ahead for the whole sector across the UK.
Michael, really good of you to join us this morning. It is early, so thank you for that. Michael Kildare, CEO of the Nighttime Industries Association.
Coming up, travel guru Simon Calder joins us to give us his expert take on what travel might look like in 2022. That's after this.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world. If
you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
No, you are.
Okay. Oh.
You happy with that?
Yes. Welcome back to the Great British Breakfast. Good to have you with us. We're going to talk about travel now during 2022. It's obviously been massively disrupted by COVID with ever-moving goalposts and changing restrictions. So can we hope for less disruption this year?
Well, we're delighted to say that we're joined by the Independent's travel expert, Simon Calder, who joins us now. Good morning to you, Simon. Happy New Year.
Good morning and Happy New Year to you and, of course, all your lovely viewers. And let's hope, yes, things are not as bad in 2022 as they were in 2021. It would be very difficult for them to be, at least in terms of the extraordinary tangle of rules that right now applies to travel and, of course, that have changed so many times over the past 12 months.
Simon, it's been a really, really difficult time. What are we looking at in terms of 2022? Is it safe for us to even consider a holiday anytime soon?
Well, it all depends how you define safe. And, of course, there is uncertainty attached to absolutely everything at the moment. There will be people watching now who've woken up not in a beautiful French alpine hotel where they're on a great skiing trip, because those were all cancelled almost 2 weeks ago now by the French, who wanted to restrict the spread of Omicron. Now, as you've been reporting, Omicron seems rather to have sort of taken over in Europe at least, and therefore it is futile to have this ban. The Germans have already worked this out, and their ban ends 11 p.m. British time on Monday. The French ban continues, but I think it's of no use at all to the many, many families who wanted to be on holiday in France over Christmas and New Year. But the ban, I think, will end in the next week or two. It is ludicrous to keep it in place. Now, I think we will be looking at occasional increases in rules. For instance, Cyprus tightens up for British travellers. You need a PCR test from Tuesday. And we'll see a bit of that in various parts of the world. But overall, I think once we accept that Omicron is here and we're going to have to live with it, and thank goodness, as you've reported, for the vast majority of fully vaccinated people, it is not a particularly severe problem, I think things will ease up. The date that I'm looking at is in 4 days' time, so on Wednesday. That is when the government is going to review its current very onerous testing rules. The UK imposes far tighter restrictions on people coming in than pretty much any other country in Europe. So you've got to have a test before you fly into the UK, or of course get a ferry or a train here. And then you've got to self-isolate until you get a negative result from a PCR post-arrival test. Very expensive, very irksome, and a lot of people are just saying, I can't do it, I can't afford it, or I can't accept all the hassle and quarantine that I've got to go into. You know, here we are nearly 2 years into the pandemic, and there must be a better way.
You were mentioning, Simon, that we need to find a way to live with Omicron. That's Omicron at the moment. Who knows if another variant's coming down the path. Really, we've got to live with these different variants that appear.
Yes, and that's such a crucial point, and thank you for it. This is what is really distressing the travel industry. If you go back, 5 weeks now, suddenly we were there was an announcement from Downing Street, right, we are going to bring in these post-arrival tests because we're really worried about this new variant. And they were very quick to be brought in. They've been extremely slow to be relaxed. And that's been the pattern all the way through. And it's almost as though there's reports of a variant. Yes, of course, the medical people, that's their job, get very concerned about it and are understandably saying, well, we don't know, and it could be this and this and this. And the government thinks, right, okay, we've got to close everything down now. But it's absolutely no way to run a travel industry. People who are booking travel need confidence that they're going to be able to do it. So there will be loads of people thinking today, start of a new year, I'd love something to look forward to. What better than a summer holiday? But a lot of those people are going to be saying, well, I've seen what's happened over the past year. I'm not going to make any commitments at this stage, which is very sad for them and very sad for the travel industry. And yes, there needs to be an acceptance that variants will appear and that every time a new variant pops up, that we don't close the travel industry down, because unlike some other industries, you don't just turn it on and off like a tap. People do not behave like that.
Yeah, and Simon, another factor for people is, of course, the price of going away. And, if you just take America, for example, the price of flights has shot up considerably in the past few weeks. When is the sense of when this is going to start to level out again?
Well, that's such a good question, because the airlines, of course, the holiday companies have lost billions of pounds, and they'd quite like to make some of that back. And certainly the people who've lent them money would like their money back with interest, understandably. And so the way that travel is going to develop, and we're already seeing this actually in January, where particularly EasyJet and Ryanair have cancelled loads of flights because they simply are not getting the bookings that would allow them to fly. The planes which do take off, there will be fewer of them, and the airlines will want to charge more. So I was lucky enough just at the end of November, start of December, to get to Florida. Of course, America only opened up, less than 8 weeks ago. And that was great, except that normally in that time of year, I pay maybe £350 and I paid £500. And I think adding up to 50% of what you paid last time in 2019 is going to be a fairly good rule of thumb. Yes, there will still be bargains out there from time to time, but conversely, there will be some shockingly high fares. And anybody who is considering a holiday, my advice is book a proper package holiday through a real human travel agent, because that way, well, first of all, the travel agent can keep you in touch with all the changing rules. And secondly, if you booked a package holiday, then you have absolute gold-plated consumer protection, and of course get some decent insurance just in case you happen to test positive while abroad, and you've got to deal with all that. So it's an expensive business. Travel for most of 2021, I'm sorry to say, was basically for the bold and the desperate. Many people, of course, wanting to reunite with loved ones. But I am optimistic, and I'm particularly optimistic about places like Australia finally opening up. And I think that could be happening sooner rather than later.
Simon?
Good to end on a note of optimism.
Optimism is what we need right now. Thank you very much. That's Simon Coulter, travel expert there for us.
Yeah, consumer spending shot higher than pre-pandemic levels in 2021 as the boom in online shopping continued, according to figures. Barclaycard said consumer credit card spending rose by 5.9% in 2021 compared with 2019, despite the closure of shops, hospitality and leisure firms for big parts of the year.
Well, to give us the retail lowdown on what we can expect in 2022 is retail expert Jeremy Baker. Good morning to you, Jeremy, and Happy New Year. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi there. I've got to start by disagreeing with your last two speakers quite considerably. Even the great Simon Calder, I think, is wrong by focusing on the industry. The government's job is not to support the industry. The government's job is to help us live with the virus, whatever new variants coming along. So 2022 will be, the key word in 2022 will be resilience. We don't know what will happen. The government doesn't know what will happen. Chris Whitty doesn't know. And it might, in the next week, things might be terrific. You've got to see that opportunity. 2 weeks later, cut back, new variant, we don't know. Things will be closed down, back to the home, back to looking after your dog, back to kind of running in the home, exercising in the home. So the consumer in the forthcoming year must be very resilient, ready to kind of jump in any direction, depending on what's happening. And the government can't be blamed for the virus. It can't be blamed for the variant. It can't be blamed for the confusing message coming from South Africa. That's just impossible. So I think the hospitality industry is lacking in resilience, is lacking in initiative. If I go to a restaurant, I'd love to know, I insist on knowing, that the staff have had the 3 boosts. There's no way. I know that the kitchen is clean because there's a sign, 5 out of 5 stars, clean kitchen. There's nothing to say how the virus has affected the kitchen staff. There's absolutely nothing to say what's happened to the other guests. And that is the passport. The virus passport.
Jeremy, if I could just pick you up on that point. So when you go to eat somewhere, do you actually ask to be served by someone who's had 3 jabs?
I don't, unfortunately, and I'm too shy and all that. And so the result is I don't often go. I only go when it's a big historic event which we planned weeks ago. So the hospitality industry is turning away an awful lot of people who are sensible. They're quite happy to eat out. They got the money to eat out. Hospitality is ignoring that demand there. And the quicker they accept this logic of resilience, of change, of jumping in whatever direction the variant is taking us, the quicker they adapt to that, the better.
They would say, obviously, the hospitality industry would say they do adapt to it. You know, they're offering, when they're told to, they do table service, social distancing, the hand sanitizer, masks on, etc., and that they've been struggling financially. So they would push back on you on that.
No, I see it the other way around. They're suffering financially because they haven't adapted to the virus. And the key thing is, in other countries, the virus passport. And if you look at, say, retail, they kind of sailing on. Sales are up in many areas of retail because they've adapted to the changing consumer. For example, the consumer can't go out of the home and go on holiday in 2021. Therefore, they're spending money on the home. Furniture, dogs, pets, DIY. These are all boom areas of retail. Retail couldn't get enough people to help with that. The building industry couldn't get enough plumbers and builders to work on the contracts that were coming in from people wanting to do up their home. And so that's what I mean. If you adapt, everything is going to be great. If you don't adapt, you moan to the government, things will be awful, carry on being awful, consumer won't like it. The government, let's be frank, the government has got a terrible job with the variants, what's happening. It's got a terrible job with the debt that we're in now, that we paid out during the 2 years recently. So don't ask the government for money. They really haven't got any. It's asking the government for money is like saying, can we have money now? Taxpayer will have to pay it back in a few years' time. So Britain is loaded with debt. Just think of that. Every time you ask the government for money, just remember you're talking to somebody who is loaded with debt, and the debt's getting worse. So my message for the...
Jeremy, sorry to interrupt there. I just wanted to pick you up on that point. I mean, you're talking about, needing to adapt. And we're speaking about these new figures out today. Barclaycard said consumer credit card spending rose by 5.9% in 2021 compared with 2019. These are people that are booming in online shopping, people that have never shopped online before. That's people adapting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But some restaurants, for example, adapt by having food that can be taken to your home. So I see that as it's sad about the restaurant going down. It's good news about the online food delivery going up. That's the way we've got to be. And so in 2022, you've got to adapt almost week by week, both on the industry side and on the consumer side. You don't know what's going to happen, but there's a lot of opportunity out there somewhere. That's the difficulty. You don't know where it is, but your job as a consumer or as a industry person is to jump as and when necessary. And the people who are moaning, who are asking the government for money, they really are very unrealistic, and they're very lacking in adaptability and resilience. And resilience is a key word for 2022.
You've hammered it home. You've hammered it home for us, Jeremy. Adapt and be resilient and survive and stop asking the government for money. We're going to have to leave it there. Really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much. Retail expert Jeremy Baker there.
OK, let's see what else is going on today. We're going to look at some of the top stories inside the newspapers this morning when we're joined by a panel today. We've got Emma Burnell from The Article, and we've also got Ali Mirage with us as well. So good morning to the two of you. Let's start with you, Ali. What's caught your eye?
Well, I think there's a piece here in the Times, New Year, New Problems for Johnson. And this is really after a terrible few weeks in the run-up to Christmas for the Prime Minister, with a lot of self-inflicted own goals that he's been scoring since the demise of Owen Paterson, the MP for North Shropshire, which resulted in the Tories losing a seat that was basically Tory for up to 200 years in a really embarrassing defeat to the Lib Dems. Then you've had these ongoing issues about Christmas parties, where Sue Gray, the civil servant who's currently investigating that, will be reporting we assume shortly on that. And then you've got ongoing issues coming up now in April with the cost of living crisis. The Resolution Foundation, a think tank, only a few days ago saying that we could be looking at bills, household bills increasing by £1,200 a year with rising inflation, interest rates, the increase in national insurance. And then add into the mix that there are going to be bigger local elections coming up in May, where the Tories could potentially get a hammering, and the Prime Minister's position could look increasingly weak as we progress. And we know that a lot of Tory backbenchers are in pretty restive mood. So not an easy time for the Prime Minister. One thing he has had, though, in his favour is that Lord Geit, the advisor on the ministerial code, cleared him of wallpaper gate. So that's a positive thing, but still very difficult for the PM.
Emma, how do you see it? And if you were advising the PM for this year, for 2022, to get his poll rating back up, put his political credibility back up, what would you say to him?
I think Boris keeps trying the same trick over and over again. And to be fair to him, it's largely worked for 20 years. But the problem now is I think the public don't feel they're laughing with him. They feel he's laughing at them. I think that the Christmas parties really changed the mood of us and them that people feel now about Boris in a way that they just didn't before. So he doesn't have that bond with the public. That bond has been broken. Whether it's shattered forever, I don't know. But I don't think he's going to get it back by clowning around and talking about Peppa Pig. And I don't know what does get it back for him, because last time it was looking a bit shaky. We had the vaccine bounce, which and earned. The vaccines were a fantastic project, and the rollout was very good. But you can't do that twice. And we are looking at whether we have a more open 2022. Please let us have a more open 2022. But maybe none of us will be able to afford to go out because we're too busy paying the very, very, very high cost of basic living.
Yeah.
There's another story in the papers today, which I think is quite an interesting one to talk about. It's in the Times. It's leading with a story that ministers want to relax immigration rules to make it easier for thousands of Indians to come and live and work in the UK. Ali, what are the papers saying about this?
Well, this is a story that's leading the front page of one of the papers about the fact that the Indians are pushing for these visas which were given to Australians, where you can come and work for 3 years or so. Also, when Indian students come to the UK, we know that UK education is one of our big strong points. A lot of people from India come here to study. They want to be able to stay for a certain period of time to actually work within Britain to gain experience, particularly in the financial services industry. And so I think this is going to be a real point of contention. We know that Liz Truss is in favour of this. But Priti Patel is not the Home Secretary. So there's going to be a bit of tension here. And this all comes back to the whole argument that was made around immigration during the Brexit discussions about the fact that we had almost 300,000 people a year coming to the country, and that was just too much. And there was a real feeling that we needed to control the borders and reduce that number. But you can see when the rubber hits the road when it comes to doing trade deals, and India is going to become an increasingly important player going forward. And you can see that in terms of geopolitics, Britain sees India as also a counterweight potentially to China in the Asia region. That you then have to deal with issues about visas and how many people you want to bring in. So not an easy one for the government, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, Emma, how do you see it playing out, and how difficult could this be to sell for the government?
I think it's going to be an incredibly difficult sell because they have entirely set themselves on this course of hard Brexit, meaning closed borders. It shouldn't and it doesn't have to, but I think you'll be hard-pressed to find the average person on the street who doesn't believe that that's certainly part of what they thought they were voting for when they voted for Brexit. The government this is a long-running problem of putting student numbers into the standard immigration figures, which has always been completely wacky. Theresa May, just when she was Home Secretary, absolutely refused to take them out, and that's been a long-running sore because it's always overinflated the numbers that people think are coming in to work when actually it's lots of people coming in to study, which is an enormous economic boom for us. It's one of our biggest exports is that education.
Another story that is in the papers today that I wanted to touch upon, we haven't got too long, but it would be good to have comment from both of you. It's in The Guardian and The Eye. It's that phone call between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin talking about the Ukraine in a 50-minute phone call. The paper's reporting that that's done little to lower the tensions between the two countries. Ali, let's start with you.
Well, the tension has been ramping up. There was this phone call between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin. We know that the Russians have been amassing up to 100,000 of their troops on the Ukrainian border. We know that they took hold of Crimea in 2014 and cut off the gas supply to Ukraine back in 2009 for several days. So tensions are ramping up, and it really revolves around the fact that Russia does not want Ukraine to join NATO on it and be on its doorstep. And it makes the argument, and I think with some element of understanding, actually, that the Americans wouldn't like it if Russia was to station troops in Mexico. So I think there's also another interesting point in the Telegraph with Vladimir Klitschko, the boxer known as Dr. Iron Fist, who's the mayor of Kiev, who's actually called Vladimir Putin gangrene and has been training with Ukraine reserve forces because they're preparing for a Russian invasion. So the tension is being ramped up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where, because Putin's got away with it once, if I were Putin, I would have no sense that there would be really serious consequences for that invasion. And while you're right about the fact that Russia may have a point on that border, so does Europe on the other side.
Yeah, and Ukraine would say we're an independent sovereign nation. We have every right to decide where we go.
Guys, we'll have to leave it there. Emma, Ali, thank you so much for joining us this morning on The Great British Breakfast.
Coming up, we're going to bring you reaction to the New Year's honours list, but that's after this quick weather update.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning, it's 8 a.m. on January the 1st, 2022. Happy New Year to you. Here's what's coming up this morning.
Yeah, very good morning to you and Happy New Year. The Prime Minister has promised to build on the successes of Brexit throughout 2022. He says the government would go further and faster to maximise the opportunities of Brexit. We'll get the thoughts of journalist Martin Fletcher on this in just a moment.
Britain has taken another step into its new role after Brexit, as new customs rules for goods arriving in Britain from the European Union have come into effect.
Millions of forward planners have made their New Year's resolutions, with making changes to support family and communities one of the standout themes for 2022. We'll speak to a behavioural expert on why this is so important.
And as always, we want to hear from you too. How do you see in the new year? What are your New Year's resolutions and what are your hopes for 2022? Do let us know. GBViews at gbnews.uk.
So a very good morning to you. With the celebration of the new year comes national recognition of the extraordinary achievements and commitments made by British people to society.
Well, the New Year's Honours List highlights both famous faces and everyday people from communities across the country. This year, more than 1,200 names are on the Honours List, including teachers, NHS workers, sportsmen and women.
Well, to tell us more is our Northern Ireland reporter, Dougie Beattie, and in a moment we'll be joined by our East Midlands reporter, Will Hollis. But first of all, to you, Dougie, in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, just tell us a little bit about one particular motocross rider who's been honoured in this year's National New Year's Honours Award.
Yeah, well, it's a world superbike rider. It's Johnny Ray. He's 6 times world champion, the most successful world superbike rider they've ever seen. He lost his world championship this year to Razkat Toprak, but he's been talking to me about basically what exactly it means. A man like him that has got every honour bestowed upon him. What does it mean to have be named on the New Year's Honours List?
Incredible, you know, no matter how many race wins or championships you earn, to be recognised outside your sport is always more rewarding. It's really nice, and you know, I've been very fortunate enough to go to Buckingham Palace before to receive my MBE, and you know, now to be on the honours list again to receive an OBE is incredible. You know, I'm so proud proud of the journey my family's been on, proud of motorcycling and Northern Ireland and the UK in general, that I've been able to fly the flag for motorcycling in the UK throughout the world, and it's a really, really nice honour to have.
Your last time you were there, it was Prince William that actually gave you, and he is a big motorcycle fan. Did he have anything to say to you?
You know, it's strange because I was one of the last to receive an award that day, and the awards are played on a big screen in the waiting area, and I was thinking how long he was taking talking to each and every individual of, you know, from the special services or charity work or sport. And when he came to me, I was so nervous to say, what's my conversation going to go like? But, you know, props to him. You know, he came away and said, you know, you're 3 times world champion, and I've been following your success. I like bikes. So as soon as he said he liked bikes, you know, my nerves went away. We started talking about the bikes he had, and, you know, kids and racing and whatnot. And it went by pretty quickly. But it's an incredible event. My mum and dad came together, and we went all together with my wife, and we had a really, really nice time. So looking forward to whenever the date may be that I get to go back there and receive my OBE.
Well, how much did it mean to him? This man that travels at speeds of up to 200 miles an hour was nervous getting his MBE 3 years ago. So it shows you what it does mean to people to be recognised. And of course, Johnny Ray is well known for his real strength, his mental strength coming out of his family ties. He's one of the only riders that you will see in the paddock, his family, his wife, his 2 children with him at all times. And when I had him there, it would be wrong of me not to have asked him what his plans for next year are as he takes on Top Rack to try and claim his World Championship back.
You know, Top Rack's a rival I haven't had in the past. You know, the rest couldn't string a season together. You know, I would get beat flat out some races, but over a season, the margins of victory were incredible in points. Where Top Rack is very consistent, he's very fast, but also he has his flaws as well. And we just need to keep working hard on ourselves. Forget about him, because for me, I made too many mistakes this year. My team made some mistakes, and we have to be accountable for that. But I enjoyed the journey, I enjoyed the experience, the learnings, and hopefully we can come back even stronger in 22. And it's definitely not dampened my spirits. You know, I'm so motivated to keep fighting for another world title, and you know, that starts right here, right now, and at the beginning of a new year.
Well, that all does start in the new year. It all starts in Phillip Island in Australia, and he will be chasing that World Championship extremely hard. He is a real nice lad. He is very modest, and to meet him and his children is an honour, because you wouldn't think that he has the sort of accolades that he does. Of course, the list here, the honours list, means a lot to a lot of people in the community. I mean, there's a lot of names up here there we don't even know. We've John Johnson, he has a CBE. He's involved in the health service in Northern Ireland. Judith Owens, nobody's really heard of Judith Owens. She takes a lot to do with tourism in the Titanic Quarter and has been recognised for that with an MBE. Bethany Firth, of course, she is a Paralympic swimmer and she receives an OBE. And Colin Neal, Hospitality Ulster, he's a big contributor to GBNews on the hospitality stuff. He gets an OBE, so he'll be joined, he'll be having bragging rights over his friends, especially Michelle Sherlow out of Food NI, who received hers a couple of years ago. So all in all, the list here in Northern Ireland has been received very, very well, and it is a very coveted and very, very proud thing to be involved in.
GBT, our Northern Ireland reporter, really good to have that update from you, and congratulations to all of those people that you just mentioned on the New Year's honours list.
Yeah, do let us know what you make about the New Year's honours, especially Sir Tony Blair, personally chosen by the Queen. GB Views at gbnews.uk. So it is 6 minutes past 8. We're going to look now at Brexit. We're going to talk a bit more about Brexit and, you know, kind of what we can look forward to this year with journalists, or are we going to talk about Martin Fletcher? Hello, Martin, are you there?
Happy New Year.
Yeah, good to see you, Martin. What I was trying to say was we're going to talk about Brexit, kind of how it's gone so far and what 2022 holds, not least of all starting with the increase in customs checks which come in today for those importing and exporting to Britain.
Well, I think that's just another bit of bad news, frankly. It means that a lot of small European exporters, businesses, will simply decide it's not worth the candle exporting to Britain. It will introduce the same new layer of red tape and bureaucracy that British exporters have been experiencing this last year when they try to export to the European Union.
Martin, but one would say that, OK, more checks are coming in, there's more bureaucracy, but we've now got the freedom to go and do trade deals with other countries. We've gained control of our borders, our money, etc. That's the whole point of Brexit. Yes, there's this irritating red tape, but the opportunities are huge, and it's still very early in the story of Brexit, if we can put it that way.
Well, it's actually 6 years since we voted to leave the European Union, 6 years in which we could have been preparing. But let me step back. I'm very glad to hear that the Prime Minister is planning to build on the last year's Brexit deal, because as things stand, I'd be very tempted to think that the Prime Minister meant it when he said FUCK business, because I can't think of a single British business that has benefited from Brexit. Where are all these new trade deals that we were promised, particularly the one with the United States? Where is the bonfire of EU regulations that we were promised? What we have instead is a whole new layer of bureaucracy hobbling our businesses. Where are the advantages of voluntarily withdrawing from a single market of 450 million people, the biggest free market that mankind has ever created? I simply don't see them. And if it was such a good deal, why has the Prime Minister spent much of this past year trying to renege on it? And why has Lord Frost now stood up and says he doesn't like the direction of travel on Brexit? And in doing so, I think he was reflecting the views of probably most of the European research group, the pro-Brexit Tory backbenchers. You tell me, where are the benefits?
Martin, good morning to you and a very happy new year to you as well. I mean, I'm quite interested. Thank you. I'm quite interested in the timing of all of this. I mean, Boris Johnson is pledging to move further and faster to make the most of Brexit in this message. But with everything else going on at the moment, is this the PM just trying to get the focus back to what is arguably his one big success story so far, which is getting Brexit done?
Well, firstly, I would question the premise of the question. I don't think he has got Brexit done by a long shot. We're still negotiating with the European Union. I think he had to say something today because it's the first year anniversary. The polls show growing discontent with Brexit. People aren't seeing the benefits, the sunlit uplands that they were promised. And so this is a sort of, a damage control statement. But it does beg the question. He talks about building further and faster on the successes of Brexit. Forgive me, but where are these successes? Can you point to any? We have the Office of Budget Responsibility saying Brexit is going to knock 4% off our gross domestic product year after year after year, which is more than the cost of COVID. Now, I know the Office of Budget Responsibility are probably experts and therefore to be disregarded, but that's a hell of a hit for an economy to take. And it feeds through. It feeds through into less revenues, less taxes for financing our public services.
But I still go back.
What have we seen in the last year? We've seen shortages of labour. We've seen shortages of fuel, empty supermarket shelves. And it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better.
But as I say, no one's ever left the European Union before. It's a huge undertaking, and it is going to take time. And we voted in 2016. We actually only properly left this time last year, so it's still really early days.
Well, as I said before, we have had 6 years to prepare, and they're only now looking at what regulations can be scrapped. Why is that? Why has it taken so long? Where are all these Brexiteers who stood up in 2016 and made all these bold promises to us? You hardly ever hear from Ian Duncan Smith or John Redwood now. They've vanished as far as I can see. I think the onus is on the pro-Leave camp to justify all those promises they made to win that referendum. And they aren't justifying it because they can't justify it. Because, what you seem to be saying is it was a gamble, it was a bet. That's not good enough. They're playing with the national economy, the national standing in the world, national unity, social cohesion in Britain. They had to be pretty much more sure of the outcome than they evidently were.
No guarantees, are there?
I just wanted to push back on you saying that there were,
Sure.
Brexit has not been a success. There's a recent poll here that 2/3 of those surveyed in this poll supported free trade. 70% of them supported these free trade agreements which have been made, a few of which were mentioned there, those done by Liz Truss, for the most part, in Australia and New Zealand. Those people, the 70% in that poll, would be very pleased with the outcome of Brexit and indeed those agreements that were made there. I just wanted to make that point to you.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about the free trade agreements. I think the government is boasting that there have been 77 free trade agreements, with the exceptions of the ones with Australia and New Zealand. These were cut and paste jobs, replicating the agreements we already had as an EU member with other countries. Then if you look at the New Zealand one has been agreed in principle, it hasn't been finalised yet. The Australian one is worth 0.01% of GDP. That is about £1 per household. And in order to gain that, in order to have the freedom to gain that, we have walked away from the biggest free trade area that has ever been created. To me, that's not a viable bargain, a bargain worth making. Another advantage that's often cited: free movement of people. We've ended free movement. Sure, but I still see record numbers of asylum seekers crossing the channel in rickety boats. And this morning's story suggesting we're going to get a free trade deal with India by relaxing immigration rules with India. I mean, that's a complete negation. That's a complete reversal of what we were promised in Brexit, in the Brexit referendum.
I mean, Martin, supporters of Brexit would say that there were shortages that we saw a little bit earlier on this year, but the government did act quickly to resolve them. 5,500 temporary visas were made available for poultry workers, and 5,000 temporary visas were made available for lorry drivers. And as far as we're aware, and we can see now, those shortages are a lot less than they once were. But Martin, very appreciative of your time this morning, and thank you very much for joining us on The Great British Breakfast.
Yeah, you're watching The Great British Breakfast. It is exactly 8:15. Good to have you with us. Well, with the celebration of the new year comes a national recognition of the extraordinary achievements and commitments made by British people to society.
Yes, the New Year's Honours List highlights both famous faces and everyday people from communities across the country. This year, more than 1,200 names are on the Honours List, including teachers, NHS workers and sportsmen and women.
Well, to tell us more, our East Midlands reporter Will Hollis joins us live from Nottingham. Will, good to see you. Just give us a bit of background on why this happens at this time every year.
Good morning and a happy new year to you, Paul and Ellie and everybody watching at home. It's a really special time, New Year's, seeing this change of the yearly calendar, but also seeing all the people, the thousands of people, 1,300 people that get recognised in the New Year's Honours. The tradition is one that goes back to 1890. That's the earliest recognition on record of the New Year's Honours. But in terms of giving people a knighthood, a recognition in that way, that goes far back into the 1300s, to the days of William the Conqueror and the Norman Empire. And while us in the media do get to have a little bit of a look, and you might see on different forms of media the full list, it's traditionally published in the London Gazette. So that's a very special tradition that we celebrate as part of the New Year's Honours. And it's a really good time for the regions as well as the individual people. It's a really good time to see them celebrating the people that come from all walks of life in the area, like where I'm in the East Midlands.
And Will, what's so great about this list, I think especially, is the number of people, ordinary people as well, that have been honoured with their services during the pandemic, people that stepped up in our time of need. Tell us about the people that stepped up during the pandemic.
Yes, this year, in the same way that COVID recognitions were a big part of last year in 2020, 2021 as New Year's honours, 2022, it's exactly the same. 1 in 5 of the 1,300 or so people that are honoured in this way have been from a COVID pandemic-related sort of service. So that's the doctors, that's the nurses, that's the teachers that have kept schools open for most of the year. So it's really interesting to see this sort of a selection of people as the majority of a large section of the people that are recognised in this particular honours. The people that most people will recognise, while you're not going to know every single doctor or nurse that's on that list, you'll certainly know these 2 people in particular. Professor Chris Whitty, he's the Chief Medical Officer for England. He's one of the people that's been honoured with a knighthood. He was one of the people that was also leaked to the press just a few days before any list was revealed in any sort of way, or any kind of option to see the list was made available to the press. That's something that the Cabinet Office is looking into, and you can tell that a few people will be in serious trouble if they get found out for releasing that list early. Also, Professor Jonathan Van Tam, he's the Deputy Chief Medical Officer. He's actually from this region in a place called Boston in Lincolnshire, but he also went to university here in Nottingham at the University of Nottingham, so it's special for people here to see him recognised in that way. Also, people including the Chief Medical Officers for Wales and Scotland receiving knighthoods and damehoods, as well as different people from the health security agencies as well.
Yeah, really good stuff. Thank you, Will. That's our East Midlands reporter, Will Hollis in Nottingham.
Well, do let us know what you think about the New Year's honours list. gbviews@gbnews.uk. Coming up, we speak to GB News reporter Kevin Larkin on the changes to custom rules that kick in from today.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panelists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join me, Mark White, here on GB News. For more than 2 decades, I've been at the sharp end of reporting crime and security at home and abroad. From the scourge of terrorism to the fight against violent crime and the deepening small boats crisis in the Channel, they're issues you rightly care about, and so do I. As GB News Home and Security Editor, my focus will be on the stories that matter to you.
Welcome back to the Great British Breakfast.
Yeah, good to have you with us this morning. Happy New Year. Britain has taken another step into its new role after Brexit as transitional customs rules are scrapped. It means hauliers will now need to ensure they're ready for new import checks by customs officials on computers before bringing goods into the UK.
Well, our Yorkshire and Humber reporter Kevin Larkin is at Barton upon Humber for us now. Kevin, good morning to you. Tell us about the changes which are coming in today.
Yes, good morning, Ellie and Paul. Happy New Year. And a new year means new Brexit rules coming in. This change means that all customs declarations will need to be made online when bringing goods into the UK from today. The transitional measures which had been in place since we officially left the EU last year have now been scrapped. The British Retail Consortium has been concerned about this. They say even last month, many retailers hadn't got themselves ready for this or hadn't appointed a company to do all this paperwork for them. However, the Conservative leader of North Lincolnshire Council, Rob Waltham, says the information he's had suggests there won't be any major issues.
Always firmly believe when the residents put their cross in their box to leave the EU, as they confidently did in North Lincolnshire, that, you know, the Brexit was a really positive thing. Businesses have had chance to plan. Organisations such as the council have had chance to plan. So actually, although there's going to be some changes into some of those regulations, you know, we've all had time to be able to build a transition, and therefore, you know, we're actually going, you know, full speed ahead with what local residents wanted, and we'll seize the opportunities that will come from that.
What are Humber Ports saying to you, Kevin, about how prepared they are for these new checks?
Well, Paul, the Humber Ports cover all the major ports in the Humber, Goole, Grimsby, Hull and Immingham, and they take in 40,000 shipping movements and 79 million tonnes of cargo a year. They are a major route of goods in and out of the country, and they say they've been working with the government and others to ensure they're ready for the new checks at all of the associated British ports in the Humber. They say they'll be working with their customers and supply chain partners to ensure their operations here in the Humber continue to run well.
And Kevin, what's the government had to say?
Well, HMRC is dealing with this, Ellie, on behalf of the government, and they say there's strong trader readiness, as they call it, for the new rules. They say the government is delivering new systems, infrastructure and resources to help run these controls. They also point to their campaign to raise awareness for hauliers and traders, including adverts and webinars that they've been doing. This is the first stage in the new introduction of new border checks with actual physical checks set to come in July. So this is very much a staged process. The hope is that by staging this in this sort of phased approach, it should mean that any disruption should be kept to the absolute minimum.
Really appreciate your time this morning, Kevin. Thank you. That is our Yorkshire and Humber reporter, Kevin Larkin.
Now, millions of forward planners have made their New Year's resolutions, with making changes to support family and communities one of the standout themes for 2022. A survey of 2,000 UK adults found the common resolutions, like increased investment in physical, mental and financial health, still top the list of changes that people are intent on making in the new year. But for many, these resolutions now go beyond simply benefiting the individual. Well, joining us now to discuss this in the studio is behaviour expert Liz Brewer. Good morning to you, Liz, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you both too.
This is really interesting, isn't it? So this is the idea that people are not just benefiting themselves, but looking at helping the wider community.
The whole community, absolutely. And which is fantastic because, you know, year after year, New Year's Eve comes and we make New Year resolutions. And from apparently statistics, out of the 43% that make the resolutions, about 8% actually keep them. So you start to think, well, you know, there's something wrong here. Because if you're going to make a resolution, you need to make a New Year resolution that you think you can keep or that's actually going to do some good, not just to yourself, but as you say, because of what we've been through for the last couple of years, you know, the world in general. And I mean that worldwide, not just, you know, your own community, but think, you know, outside that sort of box. And it is fascinating. And, you know, a number of people who I've said, well, what's your New Year resolution? And there are those major things. I'm going to lose weight. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to, you know, smoke. And you think, well, you know, they're so mundane. If you choose to have a New Year resolution, which is, for example, I'm going to lose weight, well, you think, well, why? What is it that you really want to achieve? Is it to lose weight? Or is it for something else? Is it because you feel it's holding you back? In which case, what you've really got to define is what it is you really want to achieve. And if it is to make yourself a better person, then what you need to do is to find little goals that you probably can keep. And as you say, really do some good. You know, in the last sort of 18 months or so, we've lived a very unusual life. You know, we've been isolated. A lot of people have been stuck in one-room apartments. And we've survived because we're fairly resilient. And, well, most people have survived. And we're very resilient. And we have to think, OK, well, now, what is it that makes us feel good? And what makes us feel good is actually seeing that we have done some good, that we have achieved something. And therefore, it's very important to choose a goal that, however small it is, that you're going to achieve. And maybe that goal is not just a New Year resolution. It's going to be, I'm going to achieve that next week. And then next month.
You're kind of saying have an end game.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely. And something which is achievable. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. So, you know, it's almost like giving yourself a star and you've got a spreadsheet and, OK, this is what I'm going to achieve this year. And because time has now become and we've recognized how precious time is, how precious communicating with other people is. You know, we're basically animals. We need touchy-feely and to be communicating. And therefore, set yourself goals which are not only achievable, but you can actually reward yourself. So you look at that and think, OK, so that's what I'm going to do. Not just now and for the next year. I'm going to do that next week, next month. And you can add to it, but do things that you can actually feel you're rewarding yourself. And it'll give you that feel-good factor. We need feel-good factors. We need feel-good factors to be able to go forth now in this world.
Have you got any yourself for this year?
Oh, have I? Absolutely.
Do we need a list to get pen and paper?
You want a list?
No, right. I'll write them down.
I have, you know, and one of them is because Because I live in a house with many stairs, I sort of feel I don't need to walk. But when I am walking with other people, I'm actually enjoying it. But to get me to do it is not easy. The entire family, my daughter, my sister, my brother, they love walking. And they've got dogs, so they can go out and walk. Me, I find that I'm busy in other areas, but once I start doing it, I'm really enjoying it. Because what do you enjoy? It's not just the walking and the exercise. It's communicating with whoever you're walking with, or smiling at that person who's coming towards you, because that's something else that we've sort of changed now. When we see people, we're giving them a value. You buy something in the store, you smile at the person at the till, and maybe say something because it's a human being. And we've sort of brought ourselves down to a level where we've learnt that communication is very important, especially to people who are doing a service. However mundane you might think it is, for them it's important.
Liz, do you think there's too much pressure on this time? I mean, I know myself, I do sometimes feel a little bit overwhelmed on New Year's Eve, but reflecting on the past year, looking ahead to the year that's coming up and what I need to do and what I need to achieve. And do you think perhaps people should focus, if they want to benefit themselves or their wider community, that can actually be done at any time? We don't need to make these resolutions, and perhaps that's why only 6%, I think you said, actually stick to it. Is there too much pressure on people?
That's right, absolutely. It's the pressure, because people will ask you, what are your resolutions? And have you kept them, etc. Yeah. And it's, you feel a bit let down if you haven't managed to keep them, which is why I'm saying, stick to something which you feel you can achieve, however small. If it's going out for a walk every day, perhaps just go out of the house or out of your apartment and just walk to the shops and back, or just walk. Find a park and breathe, but just do it little steps at a time. Maybe once a week, then twice a week, then 3. So whatever it is you're trying to achieve, just make it so it's feasible, that you are actually going to do it. So you will feel good about it. And we're living in an age now where we need to feel good about what we're doing, whatever it is. I think we've started to recognise the fact that we need to help other people. Look back over the last couple of years, the people I was watching this morning, Captain Sir Tom, what he achieved, from something tiny. He wanted to raise £1,000. How many millions? 30 million. So it's things, you start one step at a time.
From small acorns, etc.
Absolutely, Paul, you hit it on the head.
Liz, really good to see you.
Lovely.
Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Thank
you for joining us.
Thank you.
Liz Brewer there, etiquette and behaviour expert on the Great British Breakfast.
Coming up, we get the latest showbiz news and entertainment from Hayley Palmer, and we'll speak to a man who's launched a Dad's Bod calendar in a bid to raise awareness on men's mental health. That's after this.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
And if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to the Great British Breakfast. It's just gone 8:37. Now, a man from Newton Heath has gone the extra mile to raise awareness of men's mental health, whilst also celebrating the dad bod.
Paul J. Goddard, who's 38 years old, has launched the God Bods 2022 calendar. Each month it features photos of men of different ages and body types with a mental health awareness theme.
Each calendar costs £15 and proceeds are going to a mental health charity called Andy's Man Club. The project was inspired by Paul's own difficulties with mental health. Well, Paul is here to join us now to discuss this. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us. So tell us why you wanted to start the calendar.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of like put word out there that just men in general lack a lot of confidence nowadays. And I feel due to the recent activities of the pandemic and the general state of the world that mental health is at its brink right now. And I just wanted to see what I could do with that and kind of tackle in a different light, in a different way by producing a dad bod calendar.
Dad bod calendar in particular, why not? I mean, there are so many ways that you can raise awareness of mental health and raise money, etc. Why this calendar, which we can see now?
I'll be truthful, I have no idea. I was walking down the street and the idea just kind of popped into my head. I was like, what the hell, why not? Why not do a dad bod calendar?
Yeah.
Is this part of, you know, body image and that having an impact on mental health? I know that with the huge the impact that social media has on all of our lives, we do compare ourselves a lot to images that we see on social media, and perhaps that's what's kind of playing into men's mental health and the endemic that we see there.
Yeah, totally. Because I mean, my sort of my vision and sort of my viewing of the way things are in the world with whether you've got a six pack, whether you're overweight, underweight, got a deformality, mentally or physically disabled, and so on. Especially males. I mean, women have the advantage of hiding around makeup, having their hair done, putting on a particular dress, and so on. Whereas guys, we can't really hide behind a suit or behind like a nice t-shirt or a pair of joggers. We've got to kind of deal with what we are, just how we are. And I think with that coming into play, we kind of sort of don't really know how to be confident just with being our natural selves. And I really do believe that guys, every one of us out there, do have a right to feel hot and sexy and good about ourselves. No matter what you are, no matter who you are, you men out there can be as hot as anybody else.
Sorry, Paul, I'm not clear on this. Are you in it? Are you in the calendar?
Yeah, I'm in the calendar, yeah.
Which month?
Well, what it was altogether, there's 14 guys, and so that's kind of spread everybody over the 12 months. So there's like multiple guys in each month.
Ah, okay, so you can spread yourself.
It's not like one guy per month.
Yeah.
Because when I put out the casting call via Facebook, more guys come to the bidding than expected. And then when everybody turned up on the day, I was like, well, what do we do now? Because there's more than 12 guys, so I kind of just like give each guy more than 1 month.
And Paul, we don't have too long with you, but just briefly, those men in the calendar, and indeed yourself, you've all had your own journeys with your own mental health, haven't you?
Yeah, so I myself suffered with anxiety, panic attacks, well, still do, insomnia, depression and things like that. Some of the guys have confidence issues, personal issues, just getting out there in general kind of issues. And yeah, we just all kind of come together and produce this idea to just be something more and be more confident in ourselves.
Well, Paul, I think it's fantastic. We hear about women doing this all the time, and it's really good to hear that men can get together and do something for such an important cause, and to obviously raise awareness for mental health as well. So good luck to it. And where can people buy the calendar if they want to?
Yeah, you can drop me a message on my Instagram or Facebook pages, which is GodbodsMCR. Give us a follow, please, and a like. That'd be amazing. Thank you very much, guys. I really would help out with this cause. Over as well next year, 1st of January this year, I plan doing a ride across the country from John Guts to Land's End, raising more awareness for mental health. And so I'm looking for sponsors right now. So if anybody out there wants to help me out with this journey, I'd be really, really grateful.
That's fantastic, Paul. Brilliant. So people can check that out on your socials as well. Well, thank you very much, Paul Goddard, for coming on to talk to us about that. Really, really good initiative there for a fantastic cause.
Yeah, you're with the Great British Breakfast. It is Saturday morning, 1st of January. Happy New Year to you. Good to have you with us. Last year, of course, a huge year for showbiz news with Adele's comeback and Meghan and Harry's interview with Oprah being some of the biggest events.
However, as it's a new year, we now turn our attention to the potential big showbiz stories breaking in the coming months. And to discuss this, we are joined by entertainment reporter Hayley Palmer. Hayley, what has 2022 got in store for us, do you think?
Well, we're going to talk TV, what to watch.
OK, great.
Yeah, so we're going to start with The Masked Singer, which returns onto our screens tonight at 7 o'clock on ITV. Now, when I first started watching this show, I thought, I'm not going to get into this.
Yeah, it's a bit
not
weird.
for me yet. But I've got to say, even you, Paul, it's going to...
It's quite addictive. I have watched parts of it. Yeah.
There we go. That's a good
it's quite
start.
addictive, yeah.
Okay.
It's very simple. It's a simple show.
But it's
good.
effective, isn't it? And it just gets you guessing all week long. Now, we have got some new characters this season. Poodle, Chandelier, Bagpipes, Donuts, Firework and Robo Bunny. Wow. It's going to be
jam-packed.
interesting, I know. We've got the same judges as before. So you've got Davina McCall, you've got Rita Ora. He's always guessing loads of names. She just puts it all out there as Davina's there writing her notes and stuff. Brilliant. You've got Mo Gilligan and you also have Jonathan Ross. Who apparently is really on it this season and is not guessing Mary Berry every time. So it's going to be brilliant. Like I said, it starts tonight. It's also on Sunday night as well, if you want a real dose of that this weekend. So that is something to look out for. Doctor Who starts at 7 o'clock, BBC One. Now, we don't know who the new Doctor Who is going to be for next season. There is some speculation that it might be Ollie. From Years and Years, but I don't know if that's actually true.
That would be good. He's a good actor.
He is, isn't it?
So he'd be quirky, wouldn't he?
Yes, exactly. But apparently he has denied that, so I'm going to have to keep you posted on that. That is the first of 3 one-off episodes. Like I say before, Jodie Whittaker leaves the show. So yes, big drama is returning for 2022. My favourite and my flatmate's favourite, Killing Eve.
Oh. The best.
Isn't it?
Just the best. Now, that is addictive telly, isn't
it? That is. And it just keeps you on the edge of your seat. You never know what's going to happen.
When is that coming back?
We know it's launching this summer. I don't know if I can actually wait that long, Ellie, but
I don't think I can either.
We're going to hold on for that. And The Crown, which is returning for a 5th series, with an entirely new cast. That is something, again, to look out for.
And what's that going to be? So where are we at for
The Crown is,
Series 5 of The Crown?
The Crown, yeah, we were up to the Thatcher years, weren't we, in the last series? So is this taking us into major territory?
That's right, yes.
Right.
So, yes, can't wait for all this to come back. There is a new show tonight, The Tourist. I don't know if you've heard about this one. That starts tonight, 9 o'clock, BBC One.
Heard it's a new drama.
It's a new drama, yeah, a 6-part mystery starring Jamie Dornan. Tonight, you'll see him having a car crash. He wakes up in hospital. He doesn't remember anything. And that's where it starts tonight. So you need to tune in tonight to keep watching that one for the next 5 episodes. We've got The Apprentice and Dragon's Den starting on Thursday night. You've got your Thursday night sorted here. Dragon's Den at 8 o'clock. The Apprentice at 9 o'clock. Now, with The Apprentice, I can reveal they're going to be doing their first task on a cruise ship.
Oh, that's cool.
And they've got an entertainment task. So that is something...
I'm surprised they're still running The Apprentice, because it's been going for so long.
I think it might be
and it
series,
And it just felt like it ran out of steam a long time ago. All these crazy people turn up. They're, they're loud and they're just, it's exaggerating everything. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm so wonderful. And then, and then you get the usual quips from Lord Sugar, and then... it's just very formulaic.
It is, but I'm still hooked. And I still feel like I'd be that person that would go on there and get it so wrong that Sir Alan Sugar would be absolutely horrified with me. So that is something to watch. Thursday night, we've got Dancing on Ice coming back in January.
Yeah.
I know that Brendan Cole had to be taken to hospital. He had a head injury. I know he's OK now, but I know that they're gearing up to start that. So that is exciting. And also, celebrity coach trip. We love a little bit of Brendan. It's all going on board this January.
Celebrity coach trip?
Yes.
Right, what is that?
They all go on a coach together. They get into pairs and they go on a coach to
Hang on,
lots
so
of very
celebrities
exciting places.
go on a coach?
Yeah, they get paired
That's
up.
it?
Yes.
Well, to a
Right.
fun place.
To a fun place.
right.
And they have lots of little tasks. You have
Right.
to see it to appreciate it.
Right.
You're going to give this a go.
OK.
It's like watching
yes,
celebrities
I
on a school trip. It is quite
might-
amusing. Guilty
yeah,
pleasure.
Yeah, sounds good, yeah.
And there's a New Year's Day parade you can watch on Live Now Link, being opened by DJ Dr. Baldalia. So tune into that today. But yeah, that is my report for January TV. So I'll keep you posted.
Lots coming up,
Yes.
Hayley. Thanks so much for that roundup. And there's lots to look forward to. I think Killing Eve is going to be number one on my must-watch list. Thank you. That's Hayley Palmer, our entertainment reporter there for us.
Yeah, 8:48, let's return to some of the front pages with our panel this morning, political consultant Emma Burnell and the article columnist Ali Miraj. Guys, what else have you found in the papers this morning?
Well, bad news, guys. Apparently these hangover cures, all the trendy hangover cures, don't work. I'm afraid there really is only one way to cure a hangover, which is what I did, and go to bed stone cold sober at 9 o'clock last night.
Well, it was interesting you mentioned about hangovers, because I suppose to have a cure from a hangover, you actually have to go to bed at some point. When I left at 5 this morning, my neighbours were still at it, hard at it. I can't say I'm an expert in hangovers. I like a good non-alcoholic schlur myself. And I was given some very nice Fortnum & Mason black tea, which is quite good for a non-alcoholic hangover, if you can have such a
It's
thing.
us not drinking. This is it. Neither of us. I don't drink at all anymore. That's why we're here at this time.
Indeed.
Do you know what?
Just sad.
At this time of year, you can get, I call it like a food hangover.
It's true.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Eating too much food or rich food, essentially you sometimes wake up in the morning, it's quite often after eating Chinese food, you wake up in the morning and you feel like you have been drinking.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is absolutely true.
Definitely. Well, we've also got a cure for...
Well, for grey hair, well, it's a bit. It says, let your hair down if you want to stop going grey. This is in the Telegraph. I'm not really sure why I picked out this story, because clearly you can see I'm slightly follically challenged.
Whereas this is all natural. All natural.
This is researchers at Columbia University in the US that have found that if you actually relax more and relieve your stress more, your hair will go less grey. They've actually looked at a sample of 14 people, looked at their hair in some detail and found this, which is quite kind of obvious, I would have thought, right? So, and you can actually see when you, a number of leading politicians, when they go into the job, especially the top job, look at the US presidents, Barack Obama, remember?
Obama, yeah.
Classic example.
That was not 8 years worth of grey. That looked like 80 years, bless his heart.
Exactly. So I think Boris Johnson should probably be looking at this one and trying to factor in a bit of relaxation if he has time to do so, but I'm not sure he's going to.
I don't think he has time for anything else most of the time, does he?
Well, to be fair, Barack Obama did have quite a stressful job, didn't he?
That is true.
Let's talk about the story at the front of most of the papers, which is, of course, the New Year's honours list. We've got Sir Tony now. Sir Tony Blair has been appointed a member of the Order of the Garter, the oldest and most senior order of chivalry. It's a personal choice by the Queen. That would suggest that she very much liked him. Ali, let's start with you.
Well, I think, look, any monarch has got a very intimate relationship with their Prime Minister. They're the only person that they meet, that the Prime Minister meets every week in complete and utter confidence. And as a Prime Minister, not that I've ever had the job, I can imagine it must be pretty difficult. You can't really trust anyone. You don't know if there's a camera in your office probably going to seeing whether you're snogging your assistant or not. You know, it's all a bit dubious. But the monarch is one person you know you can speak to in confidence. So I think there probably is a bit of a rapport there. I think the honour system is something uniquely British. It's a bit quirky, it's a bit odd, a lot of people would think. But look, Tony Blair's got his honour. That's good for him. I think we've talked about it in the past that Prime Ministers of a certain stature. And look, I believe that he did an absolutely appalling thing in Iraq, but he did also have a big impact on the country. So that's understandable that he should be knighted in due course. But I also think the great thing about the honours as well is that people who do public service also get recognised. We've seen a lot of people who've been leading our efforts on COVID, Chris Whitty, Jonathan Van Tam, etc., being knighted as well as some younger people, an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old that were raising money for their school and their local hospice, respectively, our Olympic heroes as well. So I think there's a lot in there that can actually be done to encourage people who actually put public service first and contribute something to society. So in that respect, I think it's quite welcome.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that about the close relationship, because actually what some of the rumours are that the reason it's taken this long is because the Queen was still quite cross with Tony Blair over how he reacted to Diana's death and sort of took the front foot there where the Queen was seen to be a bit slow-footed. Because, yeah, it's basically a matter of course that a former Prime Minister is going to get some sort of honour.
But Emma, on that one, actually, and a lot of us have watched that film, The Queen, but you could argue that Tony Blair actually really led the Queen to do the right thing there, because if you remember at that time, going back in history, the Queen's never really put a foot wrong, or very rarely put a foot wrong. But I think on that one, she sort of misjudged the mood a bit there. And if it hadn't been for Blair stepping in and saying, look, please do this, you need to speak to the country, ma'am, it would have escalated. So I think she should be actually recognise. He was at the peak of his powers back then. He'd just been elected, he spoke for the nation, the people's princess and all that stuff. Yeah. I think in that respect, she probably owes him one on that one for getting that tone and working on that strategy right.
He kind of became a focal point for the establishment at that time, didn't he? And there was a lot of criticism of the way the Queen was kind of handling what was happening at the time. What do you make about Dot Cotton getting an OBE for I'm assuming services to acting, not smoking?
Well, as an EastEnder, I love to see. I mean, I'm personally, my soap is Emmerdale, so I want to see Eric Pollard knighted myself. But God bless her. That's all I can say. She's the proper Queen of the East End.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
And a quick word from you, Ali, about, what was quite interesting about this New Year's Honours list is the number of people that have been honoured for stepping up during the pandemic. And we heard there Professor Chris Whitty, Professor Jonathan Van Tam as well. And controversially, some people are saying online at least, Dr. Jenny Harries for her work on NHS Test and Trace. What do you think about that?
Well, Test and Trace has been one of the less successful areas, if we put it politely, of this. I think, look, Whitty and Van Tam, you've got to be fair, right? I mean, they've been front and centre of this thing pretty much the whole way through. This pandemic has dominated the news agenda for almost coming up to 2 years now. In March, it will be 2 years of this nightmare that we've all been living through. And I think you've got to give it to public servants who put themselves in the line of fire. And also, you can read it, I think it was in The Guardian, saying that a lot of them have had abuse and death threats and all this other nonsense. Where, look, if you're a politician, it sort of goes with the territory. Not that I think it's right, by the way. I think it's absolutely appalling that anyone in any sort of public position should have to put up with that. But certainly as a public servant, a scientist or a medical professional, you shouldn't be having to deal with that sort of nonsense at all. So I think it's quite right that it should be recognised. Jenny Harries, probably less so. But look, we've all got our opinion on the honour system. And I think, generally speaking, I think they've probably got a decent list this year.
Ali Mirage and Emma Burnell, thank you very much for your time this morning. You've been with us all morning and you've been fantastic. Thank you very much for going through the papers with us.
Yeah, it's nearly 9 a.m. on New Year's Day. Coming up in the next hour, GB News star Neil Oliver will be here to talk about his hopes for 2022. But first, here's your weather and news headlines.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmakers